Too soon. Go now. There you go.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
You know, I think I've seen it several places. I think we should try the new Quaker format
Yes, I
for
think so.
podcasting. So everybody
Yeah.
mute their mics, and
Okay, here we
then
go.
we'll be back in about 3 hours.
Do we need to mime anything, or
No, I don't think you're supposed to do anything at all. The whole point is that it's just
Stare at the camera.
okay?
It's an interesting concept. I mean, are they really doing a podcast that has nothing? Is that the Onion or something?
Well, that's
came
just
from?
like us, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Yeah,
different
how's that?
form, but same idea.
The whole idea. So I've got the
there's no
microphone.
R in idea.
There is an idea, but now an idea.
Oh, I see. You're just using the wrong word. Okay, I got it. I get it. Yeah, that's good, Dana. Good.
I see
right,
someone
hello.
stuck a pin in your head, Dana.
My hat pin. Oh.
Yeah, there's a
Masters?
pin.
Your
in your head.
masters.
background.
The Masters.
Yeah, you got there's a pin. There's with a flag on it stuck in your head.
Yeah, there is. It hurts a little.
Yeah.
Let me rub it a little.
At least
Make
your
it
hat won't
feel
come
good.
off now.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole idea. Just keep things in place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't mind the small amount of bleeding. It's fine.
There's a little trickle coming down my forehead right here.
Hello,
Is
chat.
that a little
people.
better, Captain Jeff?
That is. Thank you.
Excellent.
Hello, Liz, our producer, Mariana, Mike Kuipers, Tanya W. Hello, Tanya. Hey, we're going to be in New York in a couple of weeks, or I am.
I'm not.
Let me
You
look
could
at
be.
my schedule. Yeah,
I could be,
you
but-
absolutely could be, right?
You have no excuse right now, Nick.
Oh, well, unfortunately, we're redecorating. My
No,
lovely
no,
lady
no.
has decided that 2 months off is perfect for redecorating. That's task number one.
Oh, I'm going to be in New York on tax day,
Ooh.
the 17th, apparently, according to my calendar.
Sugar. What's happened?
I don't know, but it looks good. I like it.
Is he frozen now?
Oh. Okay, let's start the show. Nick is
Hi,
gone.
Yep, there we go. Now we
let's
can talk
see.
all about Nick.
Perfect.
Oh, Bo, I'm glad that the time is good for you over there. I believe you're in Denmark.
I
Awesome.
believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to do a Tanya, the 17th of this month. I'll be. I'm supposed to be at the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. So maybe all you New Yorkers, we can all get together.
And you saved me. This coming week, I was supposed to go to the Roosevelt, and I haven't been there in years.
Oh, well, you didn't have to swap that.
Oh, hell. I was
Oh, you didn't want to?
Excited as can be to get out of that.
Oh, okay, good.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, it's a pretty good trip that Brent dropped, I think.
Yes.
And we're going to do the Columbus, Ohio meetup thing, and that's cool that you're going to be able to be there as well.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, let's see. Who else do we have there? Neil. Hello, Neil. And okay. Oop. Oh, my stomach. Borgarib. What is that called again? Borgaribnitsis? Borgaribn.
Bobo-Rigme.
Okay, sure. The noises that your stomach makes when you haven't eaten anything. So yeah, I have my yogurt here ready to eat, and I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. Oh, well.
Banana. Going with
Like
the.
tails. I don't have my banana.
I should get a yogurt too. Actually, that sounds good.
That sounds very good, actually. I woke up about
I've
5
got
minutes ago.
Okay, everybody go
chai
get your
tea.
yogurts and your
Chai
bananas.
tea in my Acme mug.
Oh, nice.
It's definitely a warm beverage kind of day here. It's a little drizzly and
A little rainy.
gross.
I have to admit, my Acme Yeti has gotten a lot of use already.
That's awesome.
Your Acme what?
Yeti.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
My
See, when you said Yeti, there's a microphone in the podcasting world called the Yeti.
Yeti?
Yeah. And so that was the first thing that I thought of when you said Yeti.
Sure.
All right, Nick.
Oh,
Nick says there's an internet problem. We just got a message from him.
Borborygmi is spelled Borborygmi.
Borborygmi.
Borborygmus is
Borborygmus.
the noun.
That was what I
Borborygmi
was
is
looking for.
plural. Borborygmi is plural. Sorry.
Okay.
A rumbling or gurgling noise made by the movement of fluid and gas in the intestines. And now you know.
That just sounds pleasant.
It's normal.
It isn't.
It's just
That
human
just
nature.
sounds like, yeah. Sounds like I'm going to go get some yogurt. I'll be back.
Okay.
yeah, I'll do the same.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yogurt.
entertain the troops. Okay, back to the. I have so many darn windows on my machines. I have many screens as well, but anyway, I just have to find the proper one. Oh, that's right. I need to put on my other glasses here. Hello, Jordan Rose in Northern California, I think, or the Central Valley. Where are you exactly? Around the Fresno area or Clovis or where? Oh, Jordan was on the PTUK yesterday. I didn't get a chance to. I only got a momentary chance to listen to some of the show yesterday because I was flying. I was pre-flighting or riding to the airport and then pre-flighting the airplane and that kind of thing. So, Jordan, we used to say when we'd date in pilot training. This is probably kind of offensive, so maybe I shouldn't say it. Yeah, I'll just save it. Never mind. It's not a nice thing. Or maybe if I said somebody else did it. Yeah, I heard some people do this where they introduce their dates and then somebody would say, you're from Fresno? See, the identifier for Fresno. Fresno Air Terminal. Oh, okay. I did have it right, Clovis. Dun, 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 dun,
I'm back.
Nobody would ever call Stephanie Fresno Air Terminal.
I can think of one person who might, but that's okay.
Really? What, your brother?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Because in comparison.
Yeah. Right. I lost the window again. There we go. Jeff would never do that for sure. No, I wouldn't, Liz. I'm a nice guy. I don't say things like that. But I mean, really, honestly. But that was kind of a joke. People would say,
You're a nice guy.
Nice to meet you. You're from Fresno? This is really good yogurt, by the way. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Fage?
Faye, I think.
Fage?
Faye.
Fage.
I have Siggy's, which is also very good.
Wait a minute. Oh, it even has a thing on here to tell you how to pronounce it.
I have Atlanta Fresh.
Fage. You're right.
They just went out of business, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer.
Oh.
It's all
Anyway, this has a nice little
organic, farm raised.
Has honey in this little
Mhm.
part of it.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
This is
You're about to drip into your yogurt.
Oh!
Want to-
triple cream Icelandic style strained yogurt, vanilla flavor. It's very good.
Icelandic style.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Didn't know there was such a thing.
Mine's just
Yeah, it
vanilla
is.
caramel.
Hey, welcome to the Yogurt Podcast. Today,
All
we'll be
natural.
tasting all kinds of new, especially the Icelandic.
Milk from grass-fed cows.
Mm.
Oh, it's really good.
Yay. Thank you, Tanya. The ladies, the women are always
course.
looking out for me because I need somebody to.
It's a tough job, but we do
Somebody's
what we
gotta
can.
do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Is restarting? Is that what's going on?
It's a very cultured podcast. Get it? Very clever, Liz. Wow, that deserves a sound effect. Like a
Jeff,
rim
I'm eating
shot.
a banana just to let you know.
Huh?
I'm eating a banana just to let you know.
Oh, thank you. Is there any way I can turn your screen off?
I think you can, can't you?
I think you
I
can,
think I
actually.
can.
You're the boss. You can, of course.
Mm.
Sorry we didn't do this yesterday. We were planning on doing this late afternoon our time, but my trip changed. I was rerouted, however you want to say it.
I love being rerouted. Not.
You know, it's been happening a lot more lately.
It
I
sure
think that-
has.
I think our union gave our company more discretion and flexibility for doing that. And I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
No, it messes
And-
up your whole plan. You know
It
what you're
does.
doing, and then it's like, just kidding.
Now, the only good thing about it, I should look, but when I looked yesterday, they were giving us like almost 7 hours of reroute pay.
I guess
I'm not
that's
sure,
a
I'm not
good
sure
thing.
how they, it's like
Calculated.
extra. So in
Yeah.
addition to the 10 and a half I was going to get anyway, then they're going to give me another 6 hours and 51 minutes on top of it. So I don't know if that will hold out or not. I hope it does. That was your first rim shot, Liz? Here, well, let me give you another one. There you go.
Jordan Rose, wow. Family show button, please.
Family show?
It's this yogurt pilot guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, family show.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Wow. This yogurt is wow. Liz, the boat, it actually turned out to be a known problem. And it was a valve that was a spring-loaded valve that was sticking closed. It was stopping the modal of fuel. It was basically a pressure relief valve in the tank. So it was creating a vacuum. Not
So
good.
just quit. Yeah.
It just quit.
Yep.
Especially when it got
replaced
warm.
the spring or something?
They just replaced the valve.
Oh, the valve.
With
I
a
was running
non-faulty valve.
I think I'm finally figuring out this Boston accent thing. So if a word has an R in it, you don't pronounce it, but if it doesn't have an R, you do.
Sometimes, only sometimes.
Sometimes.
Generally, if the next word starts with a vowel, I think, like,
Oh, really?
or if it is the last word in a sentence, the R will be there. It will.
Okay.
The missing R's will reappear at
So-
the end of.
Yeah, but we
Words
were here
that
first. The
have
rest of the
vowels.
country has an accent. We talk.
You were not
proper
there
English.
first.
Yes, we were. Plymouth Rock. Come on.
No.
Who?
No.
We can argue.
Like, what was the place? Roanoke, Virginia.
They all died.
Yeah, but they were there first.
Yeah, but
Can't say
they
there
were
wasn't
first, but
some
they're all
influence.
dead. So the accent never came through.
But they were still first, whether they were dead or not.
Doesn't matter. You can't claim first.
Well, actually, we can actually go older than that. St. Augustine, they were here first.
Yeah, that's true.
That was the actual first.
How about
colony
the
of this
Native
country.
Americans? They were here first.
Yeah, but I was part of that famous Indian tribe called Withgawi tribe.
Where the
I'm
Fakaris,
familiar with that tribe.
they come from Africa, where the grass is very tall.
Yes.
I'm back, by the way, in case
Welcome.
you
Yeah,
hadn't
we
noticed.
did. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome
Noted.
back. You're missing out on yogurt chat.
Yeah. What's going on? You're the only one without yogurt.
Yeah.
So what happened there, Nick?
It's a good question. I'll tell you if I ever found out.
That was a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. It just died on me, and I've just reset the router and or the
Oh.
router, depending on where you come
Router.
from,
Potato,
and
potato.
That was rude. Router.
reset the computer and the router, and we're back.
Awesome. We should probably get the show on the road.
The road. Right. Where's
First?
my recorder going?
Oh yes.
Always a capital idea.
And I'm ready to get the clap.
I'm actually at home.
Wow.
I've got the clap.
Yeah, not a good thing.
No, they do make something for that.
Medication for that.
Medication.
Oh, wait a minute. What's going on here? What's going on here? Hang on. Why am I way over there?
I don't know.
Okay, hang on. Okay, get it all out of your system.
That was good.
No, you know that's not possible. Come on.
It's me. I can't expect anything else.
It's you and Nick and even Jeff.
Me, I'm a good boy.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah,
Steph,
oh,
she
yeah,
never
right.
does anything wrong.
I am angelic, pure.
Pure as the driven snow.
Yes.
Yes. Pure as that yellow snow after it's been tainted.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody, how are the volumes? They okay?
I don't know.
I
You
don't
sound
know why I
all
keep
right.
on looking at my damn computer. I should just be looking at my screen that's right in front of me. I'm just so used to being remote. And then it looks like I'm actually looking in the camera. That's an amazing thought, Dana.
No,
Congratulations.
camera's over here, Dana. Over here.
Yes, I see that. And I'm looking at it now. Now that I'm looking, instead of looking at my computer screen, I'm looking at my Samsung screen, which is where my computer screen is now.
But it doesn't look to me like you're looking at the camera, does it to you guys?
Either that or you developed a squint.
Yeah, we're to your there we go. Now you're looking at the camera. You're looking at the camera now.
Yeah, that's it. Well done.
You found
Okay,
it.
you can stop looking at the camera now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, now. Yeah. Look at the camera. Can you look at the window behind you the whole show.
I have no better place to put my camera, unfortunately.
What happened to your audio just now?
Yeah, what happened to your audio? It just went way down.
Me? I don't know.
Stop playing with it.
Just as everyone said, the volumes were excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Then Dana had to go and mess it up.
I didn't touch anything.
that's better.
Well,
Well, now it's
Well, it's probably
really loud.
my cord.
Ah.
And it's a cord.
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 Well, the one they're supposed to cut at birth.
Oh, I can see where this show's going today.
It's already there. It ain't going. It's already.
Don't make me spit out my water, please.
Okay. Let's see here.
IPA yogurt. Nah, not quite. Bourbon yogurt, close.
All right. So you guys are going to have to remember all the things that you're supposed to talk about in the intro. There's that reminder for you, Steph. that
Yeah.
You probably
Thank you.
remember.
That's
And
right.
then,
I'm good.
I didn't play this yet. Let me make sure that this is something that we're going to be able to hear.
Captain Jeff and crew and APG community, it's Dispatcher Mike, wanting to announce a APG meetup.
Okay. Can you all hear that? All right.
I can.
Perfect.
Good. And Dana's
numbers
new intro. Here we go.
Wow. That's a little loud. Wow.
You got some new
Talking about
exhaust
making an
there, Dana?
entrance. What's
Hang
that?
on. I'm glad that I tested that first. I can only try it again. I tweaked it a bit,
Sounds
and
good.
I'm talking about the sound clip. If you're wondering. Let's see. Let me make sure all these others are good. Okay, that was from our APG community member and creative producer Nevsky in the Norwegian hinterlands. I think he's from
good.
Norway. I think it's Norway, right? Norway,
no.
one of those Scandinavian.
He'll correct us if we're incorrect.
Scanda hooligan. Yes.
Scandinavian hooligan. And then, of course, this actually the latter part of this.
Doctor? 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 Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
This part, Doctor. The ER sounding. That is from the
Yeah.
one and only Neville Downs.
Mhm.
Woo.
I don't say that enough. In fact, I need to make sure that I put that in the show notes. Give you guys credit for all your creative work. All right. And the reason why I'm trying to get away from anything that might get me in trouble with copyright, because now we are on Spotify, and apparently they're very particular about that.
Oh, okay.
So, and I should have done that a long time ago, but except I'm still going to be playing little snippets here and there, because I just, I got to play stuff like, by the way, I did get Sir Elton John's permission to play that on the show.
Excellent.
There you go. Good job.
Yeah,
Strong
sent him
work.
an email.
Yeah, I'm sure he just responded right away, like, "Oh yeah, big fan. Go ahead."
Well, he is in Atlanta, so it's very easy to go just knock on his door and say, "Hey, Sir
Yeah,
Elton,
he's
do you mind?"
here sometimes. Yeah.
Yes,
In
of course he
town.
is. All the time.
This one,
We're going green.
I don't know.
We're going green.
We never got
did
an
he get
answer
their
on that. Did
permission?
we?
No, actually, the one that we never got an answer on is this one.
Oh yeah.
Always go around. If it don't
I think he's just
coming down.
I think he's just letting me play it over and over and over again, and just every time I do, it's just raising the amount of money
Yeah.
he's going to
He's
sue me
just
for.
keeping track. He's like, check.
Yes.
I've made the assumption, though, because he didn't say I couldn't. No, it's probably not going to hold up in court. So I guess maybe everybody, we'll just sing it. We won't play it anymore. We'll just sing it.
Just if the community wants to help us out, every time you hear that song, just put 50 cents in a jar,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
we'll have
And
no
then send
problem
it to
covering
him.
those court costs.
Or we can just send it to him and say, hey, here are your royalties.
Exactly. We took up a donation,
Yeah.
a collection.
Here's $1.50
Yeah, that's right.
from the whole community. Sorry. Okay. Let me see here. Let me get that script open. And I think no, I don't. I can wing this one, I think, though. And let's do the clap.
I'm ready.
Ready.
Just gonna do the clap. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I love it.
Didn't
We've all-
sound very good.
We've all got the
Right,
clap
yeah.
now.
Huh?
We've all got the clap now.
We
Speak for yourselves. I was actually just passing it on to you all. I'm better, thanks.
Wow. I don't
That's
think
neat.
that we would have remembered that, Steph.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Just, never mind.
All right. Let's see here. Okay.
WAPG. It's the airline pilot guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 318.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A in the APG headquarters building in downtown Roswell, Georgia. The show was recorded on Saturday, the 7th of April.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy. July is flying by. With the airline pilot guy.
In today's episode, possible drone strike and light aircraft crash in New Zealand, a warbird crash, Thunderbirds crash, more crashes, more news, your feedback on this week's Plane Tale, the Sir Glenn Torpy interview, part 1. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 318 is ready for pushback. Hello and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It is an aviation podcast where we talk about aviation news and mostly answer your fantastic feedback. And I'm a captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from her beautiful lakeside cottage in South Carolina,
Doctor,
skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument-rated pilot, Dr. Steph. Dr. Steph.
I think my internet just decided to quit there. Whatever problem Nick had before the show, he just passed on to me.
I was
It's
looking
a
at
virus.
you in the screen going, well, she's just sitting there.
Paging
Dr.
Dr. Steph. Paging Dr.
Oh.
Steph. Hello, I'm here, and hopefully I will stay here now. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
You know, that was odd. And
That
I
was odd.
apologize, but yes, I am really here. I have not gone away or anything unusual.
Excellent.
So, looking forward to a great show today. Glad to see you guys all here.
And also joining us from his country estate outside of London, professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, current captain for an international airline based in London, Captain Nick.
Hello, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm here, the other side of the world.
Well, it's so good to have you
Thank you very much.
to the Yogurt Podcast. And thank you. Also joining us. Okay. Here we go. From his stately southern mansion, Smyrna, Georgia, barbecue master, bourbon connoisseur, motorcycle riding pilot for a major U.S. legacy carrier, pontoon party boat captain, Dana.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever everybody's listening from. Great to be back on another fantastic show. Looking forward to a great, well, no, it can't be a great podcast. It's our podcast. So, yeah, that's not so great. So, but no, we're going to have fun. Good to see everybody this morning.
We'll settle for good, mediocre, 51% accuracy.
Yeah, fair to
Average.
51% accuracy rating.
Median.
Yeah,
Mean.
slightly
I don't
below
know.
average. We'll take anywhere in the 40 to 60% range.
And anybody
We're happy with that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And anybody that happens to be watching, I happen to have my master's hat on. I've been there several times. That's going on this weekend. So it's in tribute to the Masters.
Now, does
How's
everybody
Tiger?
know what the Masters is?
I don't know. It's the first major golf tournament of the year that the PGA, Professional Golf Association, plays in. And it's over in Augusta, Georgia. It's at the Masters Golf Club. I'm forgetting the name of the golf club now all of a sudden.
Augusta National, I think.
Augusta National, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? Yes. Sometimes just the simple things, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, the Augusta National, and I've had the opportunity. My former partner on my airplane that I owned back in the day, he had tickets, and I got to go with him several times. So it's truly an honor and a great place to go.
Very good, very good. All right. Well, we were going to record this show yesterday, but I was out. I picked up a trip, and it was going to work out perfectly. I was going to get back yesterday morning from Raleigh, Durham, and then we were going to record the show. However, the trip changed, and there it seems to be happening quite a lot lately at Acme, at least on the Mad Dog side of things. Getting a lot of reroutes, however you want to pronounce that. And so that didn't get me back home until last night. Just too late, especially for Captain Nick and all of you over in the UK and Europe and such. So we decided we'd go ahead and postpone it till this morning. So here we are. We're recording live on Saturday, the 7th of April, and just glad to be with all of you. And we have a lot to talk about, a lot. So let's get on with that. Let's see. Why don't I start, since I was already kind of telling you a little bit about what I've been doing. I did that 3-day trip last week with Brent Heron, and we were in Wichita the first day / night, our first layover, and met up with Nick Camacho at the, well, here, I think I mentioned it in this little snippet of audio. Let's play that. Hey, well, I'm in Wichita here with Brent, my favorite co-pilot. Sorry, Dana. Well, you're my favorite too. And as you know, we always try to find barbecue where we go on layovers. And so we're here in Wichita, and we're going to go to another place, Delano's or something like that barbecue. But I was talking to Nick here, which you're going to hear from in a second. Who you're going to hear from in a second. He said, Jeff, they're only open for lunch. Oh, okay. Let's go to. What did you say to me? You said, bite me. And I said, dang, they're rude here in Wichita. Oh, wait a minute. It's Bite Me is the name of this barbecue joint. And it's pretty good. So we walked over here and met up with Nick Camacho.
Yep.
All right. And say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Gotta say more than that.
This was my first time meeting Jeff. I was just telling him that I missed him at Oshkosh by a couple hours. So it was fun to sit with him and Brent for a little bit and pick their brains about what they do.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. As always, it's a lot of fun if you ever see that we're going to be Captain Nick or Dana or Steph or myself. We're going to be somewhere, and you want to organize some kind of a meetup. Nick said, "Hey, I see you're going to be in Wichita. What do you think about doing a meetup?" And we put the signals out there probably a little bit too last minute for maybe some of you who are living in the Wichita area. Sorry that you couldn't make it. Maybe next time. Try to get a little bit more notice ahead of time. But anyway, we had a grand time anyway, talking airplanes and eating good barbecue. So that's it. Just wanted to let you know how much fun it is to do an APG meetup. Say goodbye.
See you later, everybody.
There we go. There's a little snippet of our very intimate meetup. It was just Nick and Brent and I at Bite Me Barbecue in Wichita. And it was a little windy too. Sorry about that. I didn't have the foam windscreen with me when I recorded that.
My feelings are hurt.
I knew.
My
you.
feelings are
That's
hurt.
why as soon as that came out of my mouth, I thought, oh, he's going to be hurt because
My feelings are really hurt. I'm quitting now. See you. Bye bye.
Okay.
All right, so that's one less person we have to pay.
Can we have a
Exactly.
party in your boat first before you
take me off payroll?
less benefits to.
HR will be contacting you regarding your severance.
All right, oh, okay, yes, I'll put that package together.
Okay, good. Yeah, let's don't talk about packages. It's a family show, right?
Family show. It is a family show.
Okay, let's see if I can get that. There we go.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
So we had a great time in Wichita. The next day, Brent and I were on track to get some barbecue in Louisville, Kentucky. And about an hour before we were going to meet, he called me up and said, "Hey, Jeff, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I got to leave the trip. I got to leave you. I got to go home." I said, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he said that he just learned that his dad died of a heart attack. And I said, "Oh, well, by all means, you need to get home. You don't need to do the trip." So they sent a replacement out and flew the remainder of the trip on Wednesday. And so anyway, I know, Brent, you're not listening, but if you are, hope that everything is going well. Our prayers and thoughts for you and your family. So that's the kind of thing that happens sometimes. You're on a trip and then you learn some, bad news, and you just deal with it. And Acme is a great company to help you with that, taking care of things, making sure that you're okay. And but the good news from all that is that Brent and I were going to fly the next week's trip together as well, and the following one. And he, because of all the funeral arrangements and everything else going on with his family, he had to drop next week's trip. And that's the trip where we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio, and on Tuesday. And so he sent me a text and said, "Hey, Jeff, I'm dropping this. If you want Dana to pick it up, let him know, and then he'll be able to pick it up." So we arranged for that. Dana was able to get on the trip. So yay, Dana and I are going to be back together again on a 3-day trip. So it wasn't the last time we flew together, wasn't the last time that we were going to fly.
It's absolutely amazing. And my heart goes out to Brent, and certainly very heartfelt. I'm very sorry to hear of his loss, certainly. And he was amazing to take the time to communicate with Jeff and let him know so that we could work it out. And I was able to pick up the trip directly from him, and then he just dropped the trip that I had. So he was very, very accommodating and very, very nice of him to do that in such a trying time. So I've already let him know that I really appreciate his has taken the time to do so, and certainly for his loss. So, but the good side is that Jeff and I do get to fly together, and I just really made me happy, made my day yesterday. I was having a very rough day. I had a very rough week, and it was really nice to hear that I'm going to fly with Captain Jeff once again.
Yeah, kind of one of those silver lining to gray cloud kind of situations.
Very much.
What are you going to get for him this time, Jeff? A hat?
Oh, shoot.
I actually already have a hat. I just haven't put it on yet.
I'm going to get him.
That thing you put on your head, Dana, is not
I'm gonna this.
Very nice.
Like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been shopping. I've been thinking about, what do I get?
What was that? A bulldog clip?
Oh, you know what? You can have my old captain's hat.
Oh no, that's
so
a relic.
bad. It was in such bad shape that I actually get a new one.
I think Dana's giving you a hint on the video of what he would like.
What is that? Rye? Bourbon, huh? I look like I'm a Russian or German officer from World War I or II. Right
Yeah,
now.
you look like a U-boat commander.
Anyway, so looking forward to meeting up with Jen and James and whoever else can make it in Columbus, Ohio. Looks like James is saying we're going over to somewhere called Walrus. So that's where we're going to do the meetup, and look for information about that on Facebook and Twitter, and hope to see you there. Now, we're going to also be in Norfolk the first day, Norfolk, Virginia. And Dana, you said something about there's a great restaurant that you know about, and I noticed that in Slack somebody noticed that I was going to be in Norfolk, and they were wondering if we were going to have some kind of a little meetup there as well. And I said, stay tuned to Slack. Perhaps we can let people know where we're going to be eating on Monday. And I told them it's not going to be a late dinner.
No, because we have a really early duty in, but I'm racking my brain right now I know exactly where it is. I know it's a farm to table restaurant, and it's let me look it up. Let me look up the name.
Yeah, I'll continue on, and then you can look it up, and then we'll tell you. And then we're going to have all that information on the Facebook and Twitter's.
Facebook.
What week did you say that was going to be?
That's going to be on Monday. This Monday.
That's coming week. Okay.
Yeah, a couple days from now. Let's see. And then another meetup that we need to tell you about. This one involves an associate podcast and podcaster, the host and producer of flyingandlife.com. Dispatcher Mike wanted to tell us that he's going to be at Sun and Fun, I believe. Take a listen.
Captain Jeff and crew and APG community, it's Dispatcher Mike, wanting to announce a APG meetup at Sun and Fun this week. Sun and Fun's second largest air show in the United States is this week down in Lakeland, Florida. And much like we did for Oshkosh, I'd like to set a time aside and go ahead and have everyone that's going to be there meet up, do some lunch together, and really hang out as a bunch of APG community. So that's going to be Friday noon in front of the FAA building, kind of right there in close to Show Center down there in Lakeland. So if you're going to be around in Sun and Fun, feel free to meet us up then. And if you're going to be there, shoot me an email, contact@flyingandlife.com. And just want to get a head count, just make sure we don't leave anyone behind. So that's it. And hope to see everyone down in Sun and Fun.
Yeah, hope that if you're heading to Sun and Fun in beautiful Florida, Lakeland, make sure you meet up with Dispatcher Mike. He's a great guy. He has a great podcast. And speaking of, okay, Dana, you're putting your phone up to the screen. I cannot read it. What does it say?
Freemason Abbey.
I didn't know when to interrupt, but it's called Freemason Abbey Restaurant. It's
Freemason Abbey. I think I've been there actually.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Of course, the thing is we have such a nice layover there. Have you ever been on the USS Wisconsin?
I have not.
It's awesome. So
maybe
there's a couple things you can do.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Norfolk, Virginia, this coffee cup that I'm using this morning was given to me by Mark Van Ram. Apparently, he claims that he's the better looking of the two Van Ram brothers. I don't know if that's true or not. I think they're both great looking people. he gave this prescription coffee mug to me because caffeine is a drug, and I do appreciate that, Mark. I didn't pick that with that in mind, the fact that we're going to be in Norfolk, Virginia. Just sometimes things just happen that way. So look forward to seeing you all in the Norfolk area if you are able to come and meet us on Monday. Let's see what else. We have a couple other I got some mail in the PO box, the snail mail, the mailbag from Paul. He sent this quite some time ago. Sorry, Paul, it's taken me so long to check the PO box. Hi, Jeff and APG gang. I found these at the Pittsburgh Industry Public House. They will help you all Ewans to find some great beer around the Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Great Lakes area. Don't forget, it's still Lent. Well, not anymore, but it was when he wrote this. Also notice I didn't send a pecan pie, respecting the diet. Laugh out loud. Captain, can't wait till I see you next year. I think that's what it says. CAK, PIT, or CLE. So Canton, Akron, or Akron, Canton, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland. Take care, you all. Paul. It's just an actual handwritten note. That's what handwriting looks like if anybody has never seen it. There we go.
Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like?
Yeah.
Mine resembles nothing like that.
Okay. Well, you're a doctor. You're not supposed to be a doctor.
Doctor.
Have they stopped teaching joined up handwriting?
Cursive?
I don't. Oh,
I think they're back to teaching it again. They stopped,
really?
and then they, yeah.
We call it. So he sent this brewing news from somewhere.
Well, you mentioned
Great
all
Lake.
those cities. I mean, Columbus is is in that area as well. You should probably
So
come
Paul,
meet
drive
us.
down to Columbus and meet us on Tuesday.
Yeah.
There we go. Craft Pittsburgh and Craft Beer Magazine. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but thank you, Paul, for sending that to the PO box. If you want to send something to the APG crew, you can find the address for the PO box on the website. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Good news. We are now. This podcast is obviously on iTunes and whatever your favorite podcast client is, and then we're also on Stitcher, on what's the other one? iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and now we're on Spotify. Just got that all set up this last week. So if you are somebody who listens to stuff on Spotify, I know they have some podcasts there. They just started doing that about a month or two ago. So we're on that. And big news. Plain Tales, I mentioned, is now on the website. And again, still missing a few episodes, but we're almost there. I promise I'll have that done before the end of this month. And but we're also it's also a standalone podcast on iTunes, so you can subscribe to it on iTunes, or if you're using some other kind of a podcast client, you can take the actual feed or URL and enter it there, and then get your favorite Plain Tales every week. When we publish the episode, I'll also publish the Plain Tales alongside. And do us a favor, head over to iTunes, even if you don't use iTunes, and subscribe to the Plain Tales podcast, and also write a review. A 5-star review would be preferable, and that will give it some traction on the iTunes store. So people looking for the kind of thing that Nick does, that great storytelling and aviation history, that will get some traction for people to find. So we'd appreciate that.
I've answered an awful lot of comments on Twitter and Facebook, Jeff, thanking you for all your hard work with that.
I didn't do anything. You did all the work.
Well, yeah, but I mean, actually, it has been a mammoth task getting all those tales uploaded to the website and then activating them as a podcast. So it's brilliant. Everyone's very appreciative, and me especially.
Well, I'm just so happy and honored that we get to feature it on our show here. So now, before you know it, Nick will be on his own. Plain Tales will be a standalone podcast, and then he'll take the entire.
It's really what he's angling for this whole time.
Exactly correct.
Well, I need something to do with my retirement.
I mean, it certainly is probably the best part of the show. Come on now.
No,
Yeah.
no, Dana. Yeah,
Well, other than the feedback, of course.
Oh,
and
yes.
Steph,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Jeff,
And Jeff and Steph.
everybody
and
else.
Certainly
Yeah,
not me.
Dana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, head over to iTunes, subscribe to the Plain Tales podcast, and give Nick some great reviews.
Well, it'd
We
be much
appreciate
appreciated.
Please do.
And let's see. So that's it for me. So we have the couple of meetups potentially next week on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trip. And Steph, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so I actually have some good aviation related updates. Finally back in the air last weekend after a little bit of a hiatus, which was kind of some of it was weather, some of it was work, some of it was I don't know what it was, just aircraft being out of service. I tried a couple times to go flying and
You're applying.
no good there. So but yeah, last Saturday I actually went out and got current again for skydiving, so that was good. I actually ended up only making one jump, which was not my intention. I planned to do more, but some of you will remember that about a month ago I broke my finger, which feels much better now, by the way. However, I discovered that rapid change in altitude and pressure does not make it feel real good. So I said, I'll probably give this another couple of weeks before I try that again, because it was
So you're going to be like the old lady with the
with all the arthritis and like it's gonna rain. The pressure's changed. All my joints hurt. But no, where I broke my finger was right in the joint itself. So, didn't feel real great. It was fine. Like I didn't hurt anything, but it was very, very sore after. It's like a 10,000 foot per minute descent rate for the first part of the skydive. So the pressure change is pretty rapid there, and I think that's what it was. So. But still a lot of fun. Good to be back up in the air there. Glad to be current again because there's some big events coming up for skydiving where I jump in the near future that I would like to attend. So good to do that. And then on Sunday, got up early and met up with an instructor, and I went out and got my biannual flight review done and an instrument proficiency check. Mouthful there. So
I'm sad.
I know I should have done it. Well, I had the opportunity
Let
to
me
go,
know.
Dana. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh well. I would have come take care of you.
I know. But we took the Cirrus out and did in the Cirrus, and that was a lot of fun. Yep, got all of that done. And then interesting story from that at the last approach flying back into Concord, I was flying the ILS approach there to runway 20. And we were doing a practice approach, and I called up the tower to let them know when we were at the fix that he wanted us to report to give us our clearance to land. And there were a couple other pilots in the pattern coming back. I'd actually seen them when we were leaving. We all left together, a couple of Cessna 206s, and one of them was ahead of me. The other one, they asked to come in behind me, and got on the ground, got everything, buttoned up with the airplane. We were kind of debriefing and then leaving. And as we were walking out towards our car, someone came running out to me and said, "Hey, are you Dr. Steph?" I was like, "Yeah." And my instructor just kind of gave me this funny look. And he's like, "All right, I'll catch up with you later." And turns out, and I believe his name was Nate. I sent that to you guys asking me to remind me of his name. And then after I sent that, I'm like, I hope his name was Nate. Nate, if that's not actually your name, I apologize, but I think you know who you are.
Pilot.
He is a survey pilot. Yes, he was in the second 206 that landed after me, and he said he actually recognized my voice on the radio. So that was pretty fun. Nice to meet up with you, Nate, if that's your real name. And maybe I'll see you again around the Concord area. So it was
Isn't it odd when that happens? It's like this.
Well, it was completely unexpected, because it was a quiet Sunday morning. It was actually Easter. It was Easter Sunday. So
yeah,
it was a pretty quiet morning at the airport.
It's a small world and a great and relatively small community. And when people come up to you in an airport or whatever and say, "Are you Captain Jeff?" or whatever, it's just kind of weird because, we're not really celebrities. We're just, podcasters
just
out there having fun talking on the internets.
Exactly. But he didn't really have a whole lot of time to talk because I think he was still working. So but yeah, hopefully I'll see him around some other time if he's in the area.
Cool. Anything else going on, Steph?
What else? The rest of the month is going to be a lot of running. So that's the other big thing on my plate, and some traveling involved with that. So hopefully we'll work things out to get podcasts recorded in between all of that. And I think we actually are going to stay tuned for in person with a couple crew members here, at least me and Jeff, podcast at the end of the month.
Oh, someone else too?
No, just you.
Oh, okay.
A couple. That's two, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My daughter's sorority at Elon University is doing a Meaningful Men weekend, and yes, I'm I guess my daughter's meaningful man, or also known as Dad. And on the way, I thought, hey, I'm going to go right past Charlotte, North Carolina, TGK. So I thought maybe I could stop by Steph's place if she's not busy. I know that's like the day that you're leaving on your international journey, but
yeah.
Anyway,
it'll work out. It'll work out.
Yeah, so maybe we'll be able to knock out a podcast that day. That would be fun. Okay. Let's see. Who wants to go next? Dana?
Sure. Well, interesting week for me. I had, just my luck. The boat. Some issues with the boat. Last weekend took the boat out, and it was kept on stalling every time I tried to accelerate it. So that was the beginning of my week, and that made it a very challenging week. So brand new boat, just my luck. I'm not going to go into the whole story of my luck, the bad luck. If I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. So, but fortunately, yes, they got that resolved for the most part. And flying wise, 4-day trip, flew with a pretty cool guy. He was very, very laid back, very quiet, but enjoyed that trip with him. It was an easy trip. No reroutes for a change. However, on that trip, had a unique opportunity. And we were just talking about being recognized, and I always find it kind of odd. But as I was saying goodbye to everybody, as I like to do, I like to make sure I say goodbye to every passenger on the aircraft and recognize their choice to fly on Acme. Guy had his phone walking towards me with the picture of our logo. And so he walked up and he says, I've been waiting for the day that I get to fly with one of you guys. So, and so he waited for me to get off the aircraft, and his name is Dean. I'm giving him a shout out. He was on the flight from Philadelphia to Atlanta. Took a few minutes to chat with him, and he was very excited. He's in IT and looking forward to, loves our podcast. So he said, and I said, well, we're full of lies and inaccuracies, so I don't know why you'd want to listen, but it's still fun, and we really enjoy it, and we enjoy having you listen to us. That same flight, I had a guy walk up to me. It's really weird. He had his pins on, and he said, do you know Trump? I said, yeah, I've heard of him. He says, well, I've been on his airplane bragging about it. And I said, okay, well, congratulations. He says, that was the smoothest landing I've ever had. This flight. I said, okay, I took it with a grain of salt. Walks off the aircraft. I'm walking into the gatehouse, and the gate agent pulls me over and says, the guy got off the airplane, and he said that was the best landing he's ever experienced his entire life. And I said, did he happen to say that he was on Trump's airplane? She said, yes. And I just walked away laughing. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations. The world's best landing ever.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just
it was endorsed by the president.
The president's a friend of the president, officially endorsed. But by the way, it wasn't any spectacular landing by any stretch of the imagination. I guess he must have been just a happy guy. I don't know. But anyways, that was on that exact same flight that Dean was on. So had that opportunity to talk to one of our listeners and really enjoyed that interaction. What else has happened? I think that's probably about it. I'm not going to drone on about it. Oh, Masters. Talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. I'm not a huge golf fan. I'm not a golfer myself. However, the Masters, which is at the Augusta National, is the first major golf tournament of the year. That's going on this weekend right down the road here in Atlanta, and I've been there 4 times. So really nice golf course, really something special to see, and that's why I'm wearing the Masters hat. If you cannot are not watching the video portion, I have
just imagine the Masters hat.
Just imagine a black hat with a pin on the United States of America, which is a yellow United States of America. So very enjoyable tournament to go in. And one of the nicest things about that tournament, I just have to mention, not take away from the aviation part of it, but you can get a burger, a sandwich, a Coke, a water, and it's very reasonably priced. Unlike most major sporting events where they super jack up the prices, you can get a beer for $3. I think it's $3. So
it just costs $1,000 to get in.
Yeah, well, the 5,000. But anyways, that was my week in a nutshell. It was a rough week, but it turned out well.
I hear the pimento cheese sandwiches are pretty good as well.
They're fantastic, and guess what? They're only, I think, $2 or $3. It's crazy.
All right,
so they're very, very good.
Captain Nick, what have you been up to?
Not a lot, Jeff. I'm putting my feet up generally. I am still waiting for some sims. I've got to do a couple of sims coming up on Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's a bit of a pain because the sim instructor is being checked. So there'll be two guys in the back. And of course, the sim instructor, whenever he's being checked, always is on his mettle, and you never get away with a thing. So that'll be a bit of a trauma. That clears me back onto the 330 because I've been out of recency for sims for that. My 340 sim was cancelled. And I don't know when I'm going to get that one reorganized. It won't be certainly until next month, which is a crying shame because the two trips I've got this month, one to JFK and one to lovely Lagos, were both on the 340. So they've been taken away from me because I'm obviously not qualified at the moment until I've done that sim to fly it. So we were going to possibly have a meetup in New York, which now unfortunately can't happen. That was going to be on the 12th because I won't be there. Sad to say. Sorry, guys. So anyone who's planning to come for a meetup on the 12th, it won't now happen. The only other thing that's happened was I went up to Gatwick for my medical and passed that with flying colors. But one of the things that I had to do prior to that was get an assessment for my health from my diabetic doctor and present that. For those who don't know, I have type 2. And unfortunately, there is an adjustment due to my medication for which I will have my medical suspended for 2 months while that's being accommodated. So I'm probably going to sit around for a couple of months now and not do a great deal, which is kind of good and kind of bad. I love my flying, but on the other hand, summer's coming, so I won't cry too much. So I've got a couple of months off. Obviously, I'll be available for a lot of shows. So that's it. The only other thing that's happened, those who know that I have 3 Hungarian Vislas. One of ours slashed her leg open a couple of days ago and caused us a bit of a worry. Blood everywhere and quick trip down to the vets. If you're keeping up with me on social media, you'll probably be pleased to know that she has been down for a checkup after having her leg stitched up, and she's doing fine. Thank you very much.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Well, I think we're all caught up. Kind of a long intro there. Sorry about that. Lots of meetup news and such. And I think we're going to go ahead and just mix it up because our intro was so long here. Let's start off with the news. What do you think?
Yeah, for a change. Good.
Stand by for news.
We're going to start off with the first item in the news bag. Drone collides with light aircraft in New Zealand. Oh, you know what I should do then? I should probably do this. There we go. The drone and vacuuming sound effect. All right. Looks like broadcaster Rod Vaughn, this is in New Zealand, says a drone may have collided with the plane he was flying moments before he was forced to make a terrifying crash landing near Waihi, maybe? Waihi. The veteran TV reporter who lives in Katikati.
We're going to have to work on our New Zealand place name.
We're probably going to get plenty of feedback on this. Told
sure.
the Bay of Plenty Times he was taking his son Richard, who was visiting from Germany, on a flight over the Western Bay. They had set off from Thames about 2:30 p.m. in a small plane belonging to the Hauraki Aviation Club, of which he's a member. They were traveling over the city with the W about 3:10 p.m. When the windscreen of the plane exploded, allowing a rush of air to enter the cockpit. The wind coming through was so forceful that it blew my headset into the back of the plane, so I had no communications. The air traveling through the plane was so forceful, it also smashed the side and back windows of the plane, and the noise inside the cockpit was incredibly loud. The only option was to get down as soon as possible, he said. He spotted a field south of Waihi and attempted to make an emergency landing. He estimated the plane was traveling between 80 and 90 kilometers per hour when it approached the field, clipping the top of a hedge. The plane landed hard, breaking the nose wheel before tipping over soon after impact. He said it happened in about 30 seconds, or all of it happened in about 30 seconds. Both Vaughn and his son were still strapped to their harnesses in the upside-down aircraft. Blood was dripping down from Vaughn's face from a large gash in his head. He was unable to get himself released from the harness. His son helped him with that. They got out of the airplane, taken to a hospital, etc. Let's see. So he said that he had seen a lot of drone activity in the area, and members of the Hauraki Aviation Club had expressed concern about possible collisions with aircraft. And I guess Rod Vaughn is a investigative reporter for a television news and current affairs there in New Zealand. And he said, as far as he was aware, it would be the first time a drone had caused a plane to crash if his suspicion proved correct. And then we have this add-on. I think, Nick, you said you were looking for some follow-up information about this. And,
absolutely, yeah. I just caught another article which said that the Civil Aviation Authority had not yet established what caused the window of his rented plane to shatter. So he believes it was a mid-air collision with the drone, but the investigators have found no evidence. The investigators said the evidence to date shows the windscreen had been compromised, causing it to fail catastrophically. No other systems were considered compromised or pertinent to the accident as well. So Vaughan apparently said he doubted the smoking gun would ever be found. But to be fair, a drone's a pretty big piece of kit. If it's hit the windscreen and bounced off, you would probably have found it within, since he was only airborne for 30 seconds, within a mile or two of the accident site. So, and some bits of it, certainly, or some of it should even be in the aircraft if it had come through. So I'm a little bit unsure as to what actually caused this.
May have been a plastic bag.
Yes.
A weather balloon.
It could have been, but I mean,
aliens.
Yeah. Aliens. I think that's the most plausible right there. Yeah.
John, I'm just going to throw this out, and I'm not a current GA pilot, so I don't know. I'm just going to throw this open. If you lost your windshield, now obviously, it's a bit of a traumatic event. Why would you do an emergency landing straight away?
That was my question. I was wondering if there was something else that happened, but generally, I mean, there have been instances before where people have had bird strikes that take out windshields, windscreens, and it is a lot of air coming through that, which makes, just, it's not something that you're used to. It's definitely impairing your ability to manage the situation. But if there's no other emergency besides that, I don't see why you wouldn't just continue on to the most suitable place for landing and then land, which would usually be a runway. So
I was wondering about that as well.
He is a reporter, so Might want to sensationalize it. So I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know. I think this is just nothing to do with that, but I can certainly see where people panic about these types of things because they haven't thought through these types of situations before or even considered them as scenarios. So, he lost his headset. He couldn't communicate. He had all this wind rushing at his face, which is making it hard to see. And if you have a lot of wind rushing at your face, sometimes that even gives you the sensation that it's difficult to breathe. So that kind of increases your panic level, and you wonder what else might be going on with the aircraft. And it's just a case of slowing down and taking the time to make sure that you assess the situation and make the right decisions going forward.
well, I mean, let's face it. Most people that are flying general aviation aircraft are not as highly trained as a professional pilot is. Not even just saying airline pilots, they're commercial pilots, are obviously professional pilots as well. So I guess we're Monday morning quarterbacking because we weren't there, but he's probably had at least 80 to 100 knot winds in his face.
Mhm.
And exactly what you're talking about, hard to breathe, probably very hard to see because now
who knows if he was actually injured from the windscreen breaking in the first place. So if you have that going on, that's another layer.
Yeah, that's blood coming down on his face. He may have it may have caused temporary loss of consciousness that he doesn't talk about because got hit so hard in the head with something that cut his head open. So there are a lot of factors here, but the bottom line is he's not a professional aviator, so he would certainly view that as an immediate emergency situation and find the closest place he can put the airplane down because, well, what's the best way to resolve that problem? Put the aircraft on the ground, and now you don't have the wind in your face, you're injured. And in this case, unfortunately, the aircraft flipped over. He did find a suitable field to land on, but the nose wheel dug in and flipped the aircraft over. So other than that, I think it probably would have been a successful outcome. Well, it is successful because they're both living. Obviously,
Exactly.
that's the most important thing. They both walked away from it, but the aircraft probably would have had far less damage if it had not the nose had not dug into a hole and flipped over. So I think in hindsight, I'm not defending him because none of us were there. We're Monday morning quarterbacking, but I think in reality he probably made a fairly good decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think without knowing all the actual circumstances of what was going on, it's hard to say what the right decision was. But I think it's something that where this is the type of situation where if you're out there, if you're a pilot, a GA pilot, not a bad idea sometimes just to, no one wants to think of worst case scenario type of things, but certainly bird collisions are common and they have caused problems with broken windscreens and things. So just maybe run that through as a scenario in your head and think about what you would want to do after something like that happens. Assess yourself, your ability to fly the aircraft safely, the potential damage to the aircraft itself, and then what you need to do for a safe outcome. So
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say 30 seconds from start to finish is way too quick to assess what's going on. So to me, you spend 30 seconds just flying straight and level going, is everything all right? Is the engine still working? What height am I clear for the ground? Am I able to see? What can I see? Where's the best place to put this down if I can't see properly? Is it better to put it down on an airfield where there's a big wide runway and lots of safety services? Or is it best to attempt forced landing when I can't see properly and can't really assess where I'm landing? I'm going to hit the hedge as he did on the approach and then end up with the airplane on its roof, something that could have gone an awful lot worse considering he landed on his fuel tanks, for heaven's sake. So I'm playing devil's advocate here and saying, if you're in this situation, you really do need to have a good long think about what situation you're in before you make a snap decision.
And I took it a little bit, his comment a little bit differently, thinking that the 30 seconds he was referring to was just the sequence of the actual accident or forced landing itself from the time he clipped the hedge to touchdown and nosed over. I thought that was the 30 seconds he was referring to.
When the windshield exploded till he was on the ground. But,
either
I guess it could go either way. But I think it was just he was disoriented and that shock factor and startled and decided maybe he just assumed that the airplane wasn't flyable and had to put it down, not taking the time to see if it actually could fly. But
Yeah, and again, we're I mean, just like what Nick, I agree with you. However, a weekend warrior compared to somebody that flies an airplane on a regular basis, the shock value in being able to sit there and think things through, every one of us on this panel probably would, not probably, I would say most certainly would actually take time to evaluate what the situation is. I'm thinking as a weekend warrior, somebody that flies an airplane very infrequently, and again, I'm not defending him, but it doesn't fly very often, and this hopefully for the folks that are listening to the show can learn from this. But he doesn't have the training, so he is going to be in complete utter shock of what just happened, and it's going to make split decisions, split second decisions based on his inexperience. So again, I'm not defending him. I'm not saying it's the best choice, but I'm saying that's what happened. Certainly not the best choice of course of action in this case, but certainly what he did, and I see why he did it, because as a flight instructor, I've flown with plenty of people that are very inexperienced and just don't think about all the possibilities when they're flying. They just think about not hitting other airplanes and being able to land the aircraft safely and get to their destination. That's what they're thinking about.
Okay. Let's move on to item B in the news folder. A Delta 757-200 at Atlanta on March 29th, 2018. Hydraulic failure and then a subsequent wheel fire after landing. Delta Airlines Boeing, I just mentioned that, was flying from Atlanta to Quito, Ecuador, with 199 passengers and 8 crew. They were en route at flight level 350, about 240 nautical miles southeast of Atlanta, when the crew decided to return to Atlanta due to a loss of hydraulic pressure on the left-hand side. On approach to Atlanta, the crew advised that they would stop on the runway. The aircraft touched down, rolled out safely on runway 27 right, which is the longest runway in Atlanta. The crew reported that they were unable to vacate the runway and would shut the aircraft down. Emergency services reported the aircraft appeared to have made a safe landing. A tow tug was being called to the runway. A runway inspection revealed no debris on the runway. About 8 minutes after the aircraft came to a stop, a fire broke out on the right-hand main gear. Emergency services put the fire out. The aircraft was subsequently towed to the apron. And there's a picture here in this article from the Aviation Herald of the right-hand main gear fire and smoke taken from a passenger on another aircraft taxiing by. But everybody made it off the airplane just fine, and it was one of those situations where they were probably very heavy, coming in much faster than they normally would, and they heated up the brakes apparently, and then perhaps some of the hydraulic system may have leaked on the main gear and started the fire. But they're investigating that now. But the good thing is that we actually have some audio from this incident inside the cabin. Let's take a listen.
Good afternoon. This is your captain, Captain Doubtfire. I'd like to welcome everybody aboard Delta Flight 223, nonstop service to Ecuador. Looks like we have a full flight today. Looks like we had a flash sale, so we are packed out today. Let you know about today's service. As soon as we're airborne, your smoking hot flight attendants will be serving flaming B-52s, followed by an entree of smoked trout. For dessert, we have Cherry's Jubilee Flambe. I hope you're enjoying today's boarding music. Today's selection is Disco Inferno, my personal favorite. And today's in-flight entertainment will be St. Elmo's Fire. So as soon as we push back, we're going to hot-foot it out of here and get on to Ecuador. Is it hot in here, or is it just me?
Yes. It's been a while, but that was Miami Hick.
Oh, Miami Hick, so good to hear you back. That was hysterical.
So, I guess you could say that from the very beginning, before they even left, there was some indication that there was going to be a fire on the right main landing gear.
I mean, just a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Sometimes life is like that. You talk about those coincidences.
Right. Thank you, Miami Hick, for that.
Good job.
Yes. Always good to have some levity. All right. Plane crashes at Warbirds. This again in New Zealand. What's going on over there in New Zealand? Guys can't keep the airplanes in the air. This was what was it called? The Warbirds over Wanaka International Air Show. And one of the Warbirds, a Yak 3, piloted and owned by Arthur Dovey, landed on the grass runway next to the hard surface runway, and toward the latter end of the landing roll, hit a cherry picker for use by camera operators, damaging its right wing. An eyewitness said the plane hit with a hell of a bang. There is video here, which we'll include in the show notes, that you can watch and listen as the airplane comes in for a beautiful landing. It's a tail dragger, and so the visibility of this thing is probably not great, although I'm not sure why the pilot didn't see the cherry picker at the end of the rollout area before he put the tail wheel down and obstructed his own vision. But it's quite spectacular seeing this thing coming in and then basically ripping off the right wing and right landing gear. Kind of sad, because I think it's only one of only a handful of Yak 3s that are actually flying today.
And now it's even smaller handful. I was curious to know why he didn't land on the runway. And there were a lot of people asking the same question in various chat rooms, why he chose to land on the grass where obviously this obstacle was sighted.
I don't know. Somebody was saying or surmising that it was because it's easier on the airplane. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I think the hard surface runway would be easier on the airplane than a
might be easier
runway.
on the pilot. I don't know. Less chance of bouncing.
Oh, I forgot. I ended up pulling some audio from the video. Let's listen to this. You can hear the air show announcer in the background and his reaction when the thing hits the cherry picker.
Is after taking the grass vector here, we've got the two vectors, parallel runway, grass and seal. Lovely touchdown there by Arthur Dovey, our local pilot in the Yak 3. Ran through. That's not looking good.
So what did you say?
That's not looking good.
That's not looking good.
That's not looking good.
Oh, that's not looking good.
Kind of an understated reaction there.
Yeah, take a look at the video that we'll put in the show notes, and you'll see it was a interesting ride. Anyway, let's move on because we have a lot of news here today. I'm going to table item D for another show because I think there's something else that we can talk about at the same time.
Okay.
With this.
Okay.
We'll skip to E. NASA has taken a huge leap forward in its quest to create an aircraft that can travel faster than the speed of sound without causing the ear-splitting sonic boom. The space agency announced today, on the 2nd of April, that it has awarded the aerospace company Lockheed Martin a $247.5 million contract to design and build a new X-plane known as the Low Boom Flight Demonstrator, or the LBFD, which may soar silently over the U.S. by 2022. Today's announcement comes less than 2 weeks after President Donald Trump signed a federal budget for fiscal 2019 that fully funds the LBFD. In his budget proposal, Trump noted that the X-plane would open up a new market for U.S. companies to build faster commercial airliners, creating jobs and cutting cross-country flight times in half. But don't expect to board a supersonic passenger jet anytime soon. Lockheed Martin's LBFD won't be built for transporting people. Before any supersonic planes will be allowed to fly over land, NASA and Lockheed Martin must prove that it's possible to break the sound barrier without the sonic boom. This piloted X-plane will be built specifically to fly technologies that reduce the loudness of a sonic boom to that of a gentle thump. I think elsewhere I heard that it's kind of like the sound of somebody closing a car door or something like that. So not the kind of sonic booms that supersonic flight normally entails, and which sometimes break windows and cause cows to have heart attacks. So
those poor cows.
Yeah, poor
Save
cows.
the cows.
I just made that part up. I don't know if cows actually have heart attacks or not, but it seems logical. So what do you think about that?
Boom.
Yeah, a lot of companies working on this these technologies. I think
Seems
that
an awfully big budget there. 200. I mean, you might as well call it $250 million is a lot of money.
you know what? I'm looking at that thinking, I don't. It just it hit me the other way. It was like it doesn't seem like enough money to really get this project done. But I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Jeff. I think it's highly underfunded.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not into X-planes and boom technologies, so
No, and I don't understand how they kind of get around the physics of that, but I'm not
I don't know.
a physics person. Like physics is not my strength, so be interested to hear more about the physics behind it.
Well, I don't really think they can, and
That's what I was thinking.
They can possibly lessen the effects of it, but there's going to be there will be a barrier there. There will be a sonic shockwave. It's just how dense it is and how far down it reaches, whether it can be dissipated. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, by that time I'll be senior enough to actually hold it, and before I retire, you guys will be gone.
Could be. It's only going to cruise at about 55,000, which isn't even as high as Concorde.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of companies out there thinking that this is going to be viable, and they're going to be able to do. Now, of course, they can get rid of the boom because they've been able to get rid of wake turbulence apparently, because now we don't have the spacing that we used to have, and yeah, that's being
cynical.
You're being funny, but I don't know about you, Jeff. I find that the 717 throws off a bigger wake turbulence than the 57 does. I can't. I'm absolutely amazed laying behind the 717. How much wake turbulence that thing throws.
I don't know if I've experienced that myself, but I always make a sarcastic comment as we were cleared for takeoff as the 757 is still on the runway in Atlanta, and we're given clearance for takeoff, and I usually look around at my first officer and say, yeah, see, the 757 doesn't put out any wake turbulence anymore. This is perfectly safe as we start our takeoff roll on the runway. Yeah, at least I'll have it on the tape when we crash.
Yeah. Guys, what kind of people do you think are going to be flying inside this airliner when they build it?
People that
very
have a
rich
lot of money.
people. Yeah. A very small number of very rich people.
Yeah, I was gonna say not a lot of people. It doesn't look.
Why you think it's being funded by a rich person?
Ah, yes, I was coming to that. I didn't know whether you get there first.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes I pick up on the obvious.
I still like, was it Elon Musk's idea of rockets to get places around the world? You go out to your personal rocket ship and go into orbit or low Earth orbit, and then back down re-entry, and then recover somewhere on the other side of the world. And what was it again? Like 17 minutes or something? Ridiculous.
Yeah, completely affordable, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
We might need to get a slightly more success rate, I should say, before I venture there.
Yeah. Before I sign up.
Okay, moving on. Number F. No. How about letter F? The U.S. Air Force has released the name of the Thunderbird pilot killed in yesterday's F-16 crash. Of course, that wasn't yesterday. It was a few days ago in Nevada. Thunderbird number 4, Major Stephen Del Bagno, was killed in the crash that occurred while the team was practicing their airshow routine near Creech Air Force Base. He was in his first of 2 seasons with the team, which is based at nearby Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. He had over 3,500 flight hours in both civilian and Air Force aircraft. And anyway, so there was some kind of a crash. They were doing a routine airshow practice, and he was number 4, which is, I think, the slot position. And we're sad to hear that. And I'm not sure exactly how this is going to affect their demonstration season. I'm sure it's going to, cause it to be postponed a bit while they train the new pilot for the demonstration team, and then go through all the necessary safety procedures to try to identify what happened there.
Yeah, anytime loss of life, always very sad. So.
Yep. All right, and then finally another. This news segment is full of all kinds of crashes. This one occurred in Daytona Beach, Florida. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, an Embry Aeronautical University student identified as Zachary Capra was with a designated Federal Aviation Administration examiner, John Ozma, and they were on a training flight and they disappeared. I have some audio from this.
This is Phoenix Air 28. When I was coming in intercepting the downwind, I saw something white fall west of the farmer's market.
You said fall?
That's what it looked like. I thought it was a bird at first. I'm hoping it's a bird.
Rotor 104, follow the Skyhawk ahead.
Alright, 104 traffic, sir.
Rotor 104, can you let us know if you see anything around the flea market area?
Rotor 104, affirmative, sir.
Phoenix Air 28, turn base, your number 4, runway 25 left, clear to land.
Phoenix Air 28, turning base, number 4, 25 left, clear to land.
Rotor 104, and you said affirmative, didn't you see something?
No, sir, we'll let you know if we see something.
Okay.
Rotor 461, in your upwind, just continue upwind, and let me know if you see anything out there. We are not talking to an arrow anymore. Does anybody in the upwind, crosswind, or downwind on the west side of the field see anything?
Rotor 104 did not see anything, sir.
Rotor 106, Daytona Tower. Rotor 106.
423 did not see anything as well around the downwind. We've been keeping an eye out.
423, roger. Rotor 104, number 3, runway 25 left, clear to land.
Rotor 104, we're clear to land, runway 25 left.
Rotor 106, tower. 47 Tango November, number 4, runway 25 left, clear to land.
25 left, clear to land, and we have the plane inside on the ground. 47 Tango November.
47 Tango November, say that again?
Have the plane on the ground inside. It's hard to describe the position right now.
Alright, is it a Riddle arrow?
It's hard to see, but we can see the debris, and there's a few cars. It's parked right by a road.
Okay, and it's right underneath you, or is it to the left or right of you?
That's about 2 miles off our 7 o'clock right now.
Is it a field, or what is it? What's the area look like?
The field, if you want me to, I can take a left turn and fly right over and give you the exact position if you want.
47 November, make a left turn heading of 250.
Turn 250, I'll play it out for you, 47 November.
Rotor 461, turn crosswind.
Turn crosswind, Rotor 461.
461, there will be a Skyhawk making a left 180 going back over, or he'll be on a 250 heading, reverse downwind.
Roger, Rotor 461, we'll look for traffic.
No, 7 Tango November, and just cancel your landing clearance, and you're over the area now.
We're about to be over in about 2 seconds. We'll be right over position right now.
7 Tango November, roger, and traffic heading to your left is a Cessna on the downwind. Just watch that traffic.
Government site will follow for the remainder of the pattern, 47 Tango November.
Go to 461, runway 25 left, clear to land, wind 2806.
Clear to land, 25 left, go to 461.
Rotor 461, you're following the second Cessna on traffic.
Second Cessna we're following, Rotor 461. Just a quick update for you, 47 November. They went down right by a road. There's several cars already at the scene.
Rogers, the plane looks to be intact.
Negative.
And then this from the NTSB on scene.
At 10 o'clock this morning, we received a phone call from the sheriff's office from the tower that a plane had crashed right behind me in the field. Deputies arrived on scene. They discovered there was a wing on the other side of Mocha Farms on the field there. There was no distress signal for the plane sent that we know as of right now. There are 2 confirmed fatalities in the fuselage of the plane. What we're hearing from witnesses is that the wing fell off some 150 yards, 200 yards away from where the plane finally rested. My understanding is it was a training flight that took off from Daytona Beach.
Okay, so there you go. Sounds to me, based on witness reports and the fact that the wing was separate from the main part of the crash, that the wing actually separated from the Piper PA-28 Arrow.
Yeah, that's terrifying and very sad. And yeah, I think the audio that you got, excuse me, kind of just sums everything up. I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, except for wait for more information and see what they find.
Yeah, that's got to be terrifying. When not really much you can do. You're just along
No,
for
they
the
were,
ride.
and they were in the pattern. It sounds like with everyone else, based on where they were and where the crash occurred. So they wouldn't have been at a very high altitude. But if the wing separates from the plane,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And the frightening thing there is that this thing was just flying along, in the pattern, not like they're pulling, a lot of G forces to cause a wing to break like that. So, wow.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Like I said, I'll be interested to see what, because I don't fly an Aero regularly now, but I have in the past. So I'm interested to hear what caused that. It sounds like a structural failure. So
yeah, it does. Okay. That's enough with the news today. And let's just take a little break and talk about the coffee fund, if you don't mind.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Okay, the Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially if you have the resources to do so. And since the last show, using the Coffee Fund Classic method, we have Brian Huey and Scott Winstill. And both of them gave very, very nice, generous contributions. Thank you very much, guys. That's one way to do it. Another way is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And since the last episode, we have several who have joined up to become patrons of the show. Justin Williams, he's been a patron for quite some time, but he actually bumped his up to the executive producer level. So thank you, Justin, for that. Timothy Daniel Motsif, a new producer, Olivier Farin. We've received feedback from you. I recognize your name. Thank you. Welcome aboard the Coffee Fund cadre. Mike Bambrick, another executive producer. Thank you, Mike. Nicholas Hewitt and Dean Collett. So thank you, all of you, for joining the Coffee Fund cadre. If you want to learn more about it, head over to the website, airlinepilotguide.com/coffee. And now, time for the best part of the show, your feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Alrighty, let's start off with number one. That'd be appropriate. Will writes, apparently this was posted in January, but I just discovered it. Have you seen it yet? Watched it sitting in our crew room at DCA and couldn't help laughing out loud. Again, this is Will Cool. Yes, believe it or not, he has a very cool name, Kool. We like to call him Captain Cool. And he sent a link to this video on YouTube and is very, very funny. And the name of the video is Air Travel in Real Life. Now, since you're listening to this and not watching it on video, you have to kind of use your imagination before you actually watch it yourself. There is a SUV parked in a driveway, and I'm just going to play a little snippet of it. So an SUV parked in a driveway full of passengers.
Ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be a small problem with the sunglasses compartment in the center console. We should have that problem fixed momentarily, and we'll be on our way. Thanks for your patience.
Can you put that in airplane mode for me?
It is.
That looks like Facebook.
Just a game.
We're currently fourth in line and should be on our way in about 20 minutes.
And then it says 45 minutes later, then is backing out of the driveway. It's very funny. So obviously all these little things that happen or can happen to you while traveling, but they're putting it in the setting, the venue of an SUV, and looks like a bunch of people commuting together to work, or at least trying to. So it's very, you'll get a kick out of it and laugh out loud, as Will did.
Yeah, I loved it, particularly the very end when they're kind of queuing with their heads crammed against the ceiling for this one bloke to get his stuff together and open the door.
It's very funny, very clever comedy. All right, let's move on to number 2. This is from First Officer Simon. He sent us some audio feedback. He said, I'm sending in this audio feedback, which hopefully is vaguely interesting, which is the theme of our show. Love the show. Keep up the good work. And so let's listen to, and it's been a while since I've listened to this, so I'm going to have to refresh myself. Well, that's not the right thing to say. I'm not going to refresh myself. I'm going to refresh my memory by listening to it with you. Here we go.
Hello, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Captain Dana, Dr. Steph, and the rest of the APG crew. My name's Simon. I'm an Embraer 175 and Embraer 195 first officer for a UK regional airline called Acme Purple. I've been a long time listening to the show, which I absolutely love. Goodness me, it sorts out my long commute to work. However, this is the first time I've sent any feedback in, and so please be gentle. Today's feedback is just a little bit of a contribution to the discussion that we've been having regarding flex and derating engines and N1 values. The E-Jet has an engine on which is not dissimilar to that you'd find on an Airbus A320 or maybe a 737. It's a CF34 engine, which is a derivative of the CFM56 engines. Our engines, therefore, have quite a lot of commonality in the way that we reduce thrust with many, perhaps larger airplanes. The first thing that we might want to think about is how air density and temperature, which are interlinked, affect thrust and N1. Let's assume we're at a given airfield and we develop a certain amount of power. If it's a normal cool day, let's say, then the fan at the front of the engine might be running at maybe 90%. However, if we maintained the 90% rotational speed of the fan, but increase the temperature of the day, the air density would reduce. And because the air is less dense, for that given rotational speed of the fan, you'd actually produce less thrust. And this is really the core of the whole issue here. You can't specify that a particular rotational speed of one engine will produce a particular thrust output without other values coming into it. The next thing we need to talk about is ISA. Now, ISA is the International Standard Atmosphere. It's a mathematical model of the world. It's not how the real world works, perhaps, but it's certainly something that allows you to do calculations and then derive performance, and it's used a lot in aviation. We've talked about it before on the show, I know, but just to recap, the standard atmosphere states that at sea level, and that's really important that it's at sea level, the temperature will be 15 degrees C, the pressure will be 1013.25 hectopascals. If you're in inches of mercury, that's 2992. We also have what's known as an environmental lapse rate. That's the reduction in temperature as you climb. So for every 1,000 feet that you climb, you can expect the temperature to reduce by 1.98 degrees C. Let's call that 2 degrees for cash. All of that gives you a density at sea level of 1.228 grams per meter cubed. That's a figure that we don't really measure, and it doesn't get mentioned much apart from within the realms of theoretical teaching. The reason that we need to know about ISA is it affects how the engines perform and how we measure that performance. The engines are called flat-rated engines, and what that means is that they are guaranteed to be able to give you a specified amount of thrust until they reach what's known as their flat rating temperature, which is where they reach their thermodynamic limit. The thermodynamic limit is when the engine reaches its peak temperature in the turbine section of the engine as specified by the manufacturer. The engine could probably produce more power, but if we try to increase the work done by the engine, we'd exceed those limits, not necessarily causing a meltdown of the engine or anything, but certainly reducing its life. So, if you've got a very cold day, the engine, in our case, produces its maximum normal rated thrust of 18,500 pounds. And it can produce 18,500 pounds of thrust right up to the flat rated temperature, which is ISA plus 15, or at sea level only, 30 degrees C. Just assuming that we were at an airfield 1,000 feet above sea level, then ISA plus 15 would equate to 28 degrees C. And that's why we need to use ISA rather than simply stating a block temperature. It means that we can then use the engines at any kind of airfield, be it above, below, or at sea level. Once the temperature outside exceeds that particular temperature of 30 at sea level, then the engine has to start protecting itself. That's done through the FADEC, the Full Authority Digital Engine Control Unit. With the higher temperatures outside, 31, 32, 33, what the engine has to do is reduce the N1. That keeps the interturbine temperatures, the core section of the engine, at its thermodynamic limit. The result is that thrust is reduced, and it's reduced by slowing the engine down. That's reducing the M1. So in a nutshell, what we do to flex is we tell the aircraft the temperature is hotter than it is outside. The temperature that we select is usually above the flat rated temperature, and that causes the N1 value to be reduced by the engine. There are some limits to this. The maximum reduction that's allowed is about 25% of maximum allowable thrust. Now, our engine can actually produce, in an emergency situation, 20,000 pounds of thrust. We'd use that in cases such as wind shear or an EGPWS maneuver. The benefits of using flex then are, as we probably know, reduced engine wear and, to an extent, a reduced noise footprint. A downside, funnily enough, is that it costs us in terms of fuel burn, because although we're using a little bit less fuel for the lower power output, it reduces our performance, so we end up on the runway for longer and we climb more slowly, so we're in the less efficient, thicker air for longer. The occasions when we can't use flexible takeoff techniques are limited to 4 for our company anyway. That is, if we've got wind shear reported or even predicted on the departure, then we don't use flex. If we're operating in low visibility procedures, then we wouldn't use flex. If the runway is contaminated, again, we can't use flex. And then there's a fairly new addition for us as a company. That is, if our electronic flight bag isn't working, then we can't use flex. Previously, we actually used to be able to do all the performance using paper charts, which then became iPad charts. And I'll just explain to you very quickly how that worked, and you'll see why we don't do it anymore. The thermodynamic limit temperature in the charts is referred to as T-min, and it's printed at the bottom of the chart. For every airfield, this will be different dependent on the elevation. So a sea level airfield, T-min would be, say, 30 degrees. Remember, that's the thermodynamic limit, ISA plus 15. Whereas an airfield such as Milan, it will be around about 28 or 29 degrees, where it's a little bit higher. In the tables, you are presented with data for the outside air temperature, which is also called T-assumed on the aircraft I fly. I think on the Airbus it might be called T-flex, but I'm guessing there. Bracketed next to it is a value for T-max, and that value represents, for that given outside air temperature, the maximum amount that you could dial into the FADEC as an assumed temperature, which would give you the 25% reduction in thrust. Furthermore, there are tables of weights and configurations. What we would do, and this is a much abbreviated procedure, is we'd look up the closest weight to our actual weight of the aircraft and then round it up slightly to get to a value in the table. We'd look across the table and find an outside air temperature. And that might be, I don't know, 60 degrees that came up for 38 tons as a rough ballpark example. However, we'd then also look at the outside air temperature and find that at 10 degrees C outside, the maximum flexible temperature is 34. So therefore, we'd be using an assumed temperature of 34 degrees. Having done that, we'd then need to look into a different table, which would present an X and Y axis, one axis giving the actual outside air temperature, the other axis giving the difference between the actual outside air temperature and the assumed flexible takeoff temperature. And you'd look into the table to determine an N1 reduction. What you did then was look at your assumed temperature N1 from the original table, reduce that N1 by the small percentage given in the differences table, and that's what you'd expect the FADEC to produce when you dialed in the flexible temperature, with corrections for pressure deviations, use of anti-ice systems, use of air conditioning packs, and so on and so forth. And you can imagine this is actually, given you'd be doing this on a turnaround with all the other complications of probably a manual load sheet, and interruptions, dispatchers, passengers, the rest of it, all going on. It's a little bit of an involved situation. The first thing that we did then was we removed the possibility of using it in icing conditions. However, this meant that we were tending to use the performance manually fewer and fewer times, which meant familiarity decreased. And most crews were electing to use rated takeoff settings when the electronic flight bag wasn't available, which was perfectly permissible. And as a company, it seemed much more sensible just to remove manual performance calculations entirely rather than risking a crew trying the manual performance, which they don't use at all frequently, and then coming up with an incorrect result, and then maybe incurring a delay because the FADEC is a very different outcome when it's all dialed in. So nowadays, if we can't use the computer to work it out, we just say, well, we'll use rated thrust, and it's going to be absolutely fine. We take all our V speeds from the paper manuals, we get our percentage of N1 from the paper manuals, and that's much safer rather than trying to work out a complex formula. Hopefully this has cleared things up a little bit for people. Maybe it's muddied the waters even more, but certainly is an in-depth and difficult topic, even when you're doing your type rating. And if you can even vaguely get your head around this, well done. Hopefully you enjoyed the feedback. I'm sure I'll leave some more at some point. Thanks very much. Clear skies, tailwinds, all that really good stuff, and talk to you again really soon.
Oh,
steady. What?
Are we still recording?
Still here. Well, before they launch into what they're going to say, thank you, First Officer Simon. That was excellent. I really appreciated it. I enjoy the fine detail, and I'm a nerd and geek at heart, and I followed you 100% of the way, cleared things up completely for me. So thank you.
I just had a thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought, Belle. This is actually Miami. This is where Rick has been all this time. He's been cultivating this new, beautiful English accent. And this is actually from Miami Rick, I think.
I think it's a very valid hypothesis. And until we actually see the two of them in the same room together, I'm going to believe it. So,
and I hope you don't mind, Simon, that I played the crickets. That's kind of an honor. That's an honorable thing to get crickets played.
Highest possible tribute.
It is.
Absolutely. You know, I'm glad there's at least one person in the entire of the aviation industry who knows what the hell's going on.
We don't understand. We still don't understand.
No.
All you're doing, reducing wear and tear on the engine. Summed up in one little sentence there. Yeah.
Well, then why didn't he just say?
Well, because
that was really, really great, in depth, and you broke it down into nice, easy to understand chunks and put it all together. And I think have a better understanding, or more in-depth understanding anyway, of this whole flex takeoff thing. So thank you, First Officer Simon, for that very in-depth
soon
feedback.
to be training captain Simon, I suspect.
Yeah, if he isn't already, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's going to be building and designing all the systems. That's what's going to happen. Improving on current design.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, Texas Charlie sent us an amazing thing. He says, howdy from Texas to Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, First Officer, Captain Dana, and Dr. Steph. Saw this and immediately thought of all of you. Thanks for the hard work. You can't even begin to know how much joy you bring to the world every week. Oh, that's nice. Adios. From Texas Charlie. Now, before I say this, I want you to know that I am not in any way satirizing or putting down people of faith, because I am a person of faith myself. And this is kind of patterned. Yes,
I believe God has a sense of humor, so this is.
I do too. I certainly hope so. Anyway,
you're just trying to preempt all the hate mail you're going to get.
Yes,
yes.
And if you still are offended by this, then send it to nick@airlinepilotguy.com. No, I'm just kidding.
What? Perfect.
Not even sure if that's the actual Airline Pilot Guy.
It'll just go to Jeff.
It'll probably go to me anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here we go. This is from Texas. Yeah, I should put Texas Charlie's email address in there. He can get all the hate mail. Here we go. Our controller, who art in tower, hallowed be thy sector. Thy traffic come, thy clearances be done, on the ground as it is in the air. Give us this day our radar vectors, and forgive us our poor RT, as we forgive those who cut us off on final. And lead us not into adverse weather, but deliver us our clearances. For thine is the tower, the approach, and the center. For until you disconnect, forever and ever. Out.
Very good.
I
thought that was very, very cute. So there we
Very
go. Thank you,
cute.
Texas Charlie, for that. That'll be in the show notes if you want it yourself and print it out and put it on your wall. James in Portland, Oregon. PDX James. Hello, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Dr. Steph, and soon to be Captain Dana. It's been some time since my last feedback submission, almost 2 years actually. I've been pretty busy at work, now flying for a well-known regional carrier here in the Pacific Northwest. My wife and I are expecting our firstborn this summer, and I am a little under a year away from upgrade on the Q400. I still find time every week to catch up with the APG community, never missing an episode. Anyway, I thought I would write to share in the conversation of the pilot shortage. As we've all witnessed, the shortage is now real at the regional level. My airline made a few news articles last summer, and I'm afraid this is just the beginning. We always hear about the amount of retirements that are up and coming, but there is very few tools to quantify the numbers. So I've made a spreadsheet that does just that. This table includes the major carriers along with FedEx and UPS. This chart does not include such airlines as Spirit, Allegiant, JetBlue, or Frontier, nor does it include the pilots that will retire at the regionals or corporate pilots. Feel free to post the table as a PDF link, but I will highlight some of the numbers for the APG community to hear. And he continues, in 10 years, by the year 2028, roughly 28,000 pilots that are now on the seniority list at the major carriers will retire. That's about 47% of the 60,000 pilots now flying at the airlines I included on the table. By 2032, roughly 38,000 will retire. That's about 64% of the 60,000. Starting in 2020, a combined number of over 2,000 pilots will retire from the majors every year, with the peak years beginning or nearing 3,000 a year. The big three will be hit hard percentage-wise. By the year 2032, 61% of current Delta pilots will retire. 67% of current United pilots will retire, and 76% of current American Airlines pilots will retire. UPS currently has 2,725 pilots. By 2032, 2,081 pilots will retire. That's 80% of the current seniority list. Each airline peaks at different points, but the mid-2020s will be very interesting, as most airlines need to hire well over 600 pilots a year to keep up with the attrition due to retirement. As it stands, none of the majors are hurting for pilots, but their regional carriers are. That's why the bonuses and other marketing ploys have surfaced in the last year or two in order to fill classrooms at the regional level. Altogether, the regionals employ about 22,000 pilots. That's less than the amount of major airline pilots retiring in the next 10 years. I know the industry has spouted the words pilot shortage for years now, but this seems to be the start of a perfect storm brewing. The main issue I have with this industry is the outrageous price tag to become a pilot. It seems that flight schools have again noticed the uptick in applicants, and those that offer loan options have inflated their prices even more. The flight training program I attended cost $65,000 in 2012. It now costs $98,000. I called that training center last week and asked them questions about the price hikes. They said it was due to the new fleet of airplanes they were getting and the increase in labor costs to keep CFIs. I don't buy that so much, as the CFIs don't make all that much more. They're just on salary now, guaranteeing them a paycheck through the winters when the weather is bad. So, if you're an APG listener and you're looking to get into the field, know that now is a great time to do so, but be smart. Do your homework beforehand. There are cheaper options out there, but it may take a little while longer to get the money together, as certain flight schools don't have financing options. Trust me, when you're making maybe $35,000 to $40,000 a year and have a $800 to $900 monthly payment on flight training loans, the excitement of the job will diminish rapidly. Not to mention, if another catastrophic event happens, it would really stink to be stuck as a regional first officer for years, making that monthly payment while trying to live life and start a family. Just my 2 cents on the matter. Again, I will send the link to the PDF of the retirement table for APGers to look at. Thanks again for the APG crew for continuing thanks again to the APG crew for continuing to give us aviation enthusiasts a place to passively or even actively geek out. Take care and safe flying. James. And I'll put a link to the table that James put together for us in the show notes.
There's some big numbers there, Jeff.
Huge numbers. I'll be 2023, I think, is my
I was going to say, even that first number, 2028, 50% of the hosts here will be retired. So it's true. It fits with the picture.
Yeah, by 2023, 50% of the hosts here will be retired.
That's true. Even sooner.
Yeah.
A quarter within the next year and a half, I think it is, of us will be retired.
Yeah, it's the percentages of pilots that are going to retire within that time frame that is, I find amazing. 47, 64, 76, 80%. And you go, whoa, not only are they losing the new number of pilots, they're losing all that experience. And they're going to be fire hosing guys in from below. And of course, the number of training pilots and the number of people to pass on all the good gen that you and I picked up over the years, Jeff, they're just not going to be around.
Well, and, Liz says it's a good time to be a young pilot, but, if you think about flight training costs, which have increased, I think that's decreased the number of pilots who are up and coming compared to in previous years. So I think the pool shrinks and the retirements increase, and it just widens that gap more and more. So
I just really see no way that the airlines are going to escape the fact that they're going to have to start paying for all this training, all this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The 65 to 100 to 150,000, however much it costs, they're going to have to bear the brunt of the cost of that in the future, because that's the only way they're going to be able to attract people to take these jobs. And I think we're a good 10, 20 years or so before you're going to see airplanes without pilots. So they've been hoping for that, but I just don't see it happening, especially with the passenger traffic. So they're going to have pilots, humans, in the cockpit flying airplanes, and the only way to do it is to pay for their training. In my opinion.
This doesn't even take into account expansion.
No, and that's going to happen too.
And the ab initio issue is huge. Already, a lot of international carriers have ab initio programs that they send students here to the States to learn and immediately have a job as soon as they get back over and gain the experience. The cost is just massive. I see. I kind of forgot where I was going with this. It's called getting old, I guess.
It's time for you to retire.
It's time for me to retire. Yeah, no kid. Oh yeah, that's where I was going with it. One of the biggest and two of the panel members here got their training through the military, and that's one of the biggest sources of pilots coming up over the years. Now that the military, they're having issues finding pilots to train even, and not only that, the military, they're using drones a lot more. So they're not actually having as many guys or girls in the flight decks flying the airplanes around anymore. So that supply is drying up. So not only are we losing the civilian side of it in the cost of learning how to fly, but also the military side of it. There are just not as many military pilots as there used to be. So I think it's a double-edged sword that we're approaching here, because the supply is just not there. Ab initio is definitely coming. I absolutely agree with Captain Jeff.
And I share Nick's concern about the fact that not only we're hurting for pilots numbers wise, but the experience level is just dramatically dropping. And experience is everything when it comes to safety and flying, in my opinion.
Well, and most people think that what we do for a living is just pushing buttons and just putting the autopilot on. Yeah, I hate to tell you, there's a lot more to what we do than just pushing buttons and putting the autopilot on. And even when the autopilot's on, you're still very actively involved. Very much so.
If they think that that's all that's involved in this, then there wouldn't be a shortage.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, PDX James, for that. Again, find his table in the show notes. But as you said, if you're out there, you want to get into this field, now's the time to do it. And just understand that, something could happen in the future to derail all of this. But if everything is chugging along, it's a great career field to get into. Number 5, Stuart. Thousands. Let's see. Bailiffs are being sent into airline offices because companies are failing to pay passengers compensation for flight delays and cancellations, according to BBC Radio 4's You and Yours has learned. Thousands of court rulings ordering compensation have been ignored by airlines, including EasyJet and Thomson Airways, now TUI Airways. In one case, bailiffs boarded a plane. EasyJet says,
"Give us our money." Who are they demanding that money from? Pilots and the flight
interesting.
attendants?
Yeah.
They have like a wallet hand to.
Captain's credit card, please.
That's right.
EasyJet says it's changing its policies about the claims. Well, TUI Airways has launched an investigation. Bailiffs are arriving at the offices of leading UK airlines, and staff are paying on the spot with debit and credit cards. Well, we were joking, but they really are. Let's see. If staff fail to pay up, the bailiffs can remove and sell their office equipment and furniture. And
Oh man, I'd be like, yes, please take all this stuff out of my office.
Yeah, they'll go into the cockpit. Okay,
I don't care.
Those side stick controllers. Okay, hand them over.
That's right.
I'd be very happy to hand him my computer that we won't use the name of it, but it's
the Microsoft Surface 3.
I was trying not to use the name of it, but I would be happy. I'd be very happy to give him that piece of
Thankfully, we'll be able to
garbage.
turn those things over in a couple months, Dana, right?
Yeah. You know what? I'm thinking, honestly, now that I'm a boat owner, I was thinking about spending, I think they're going to charge like $125 or $150.
Yeah,
and tying a rope on it and throwing it overboard and use it as my anchor.
It would make a good anchor.
It would make an excellent anchor.
We love our Microsoft products. We really do. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's like,
I digress.
And it's getting worse too. Like you'll turn around and you go, okay, I'm going to look at something on the it shut down again. So you have to restart the thing. Good thing we don't have to rely on this for our information to fly our airplanes.
Yeah, you're rolling out on the runway by the time it comes back up. Reverses and spoilers are up, and you're slowing down. Oh, it finally decided to come back to life. Perfect.
So that might be part of the reason why our airline is switching to the iPad product.
Amen.
Very, very sensible of them.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, it looks like going back to this article, I guess you get compensation if your flight is delayed or canceled or delayed 3 hours or more, and you're entitled to compensation of around £500, depending on the flight. But when most passengers put in their claim for compensation, the airline ignores them. So apparently they're starting to review their policy when it comes to ignoring these passengers' claims, and because I guess
you see in the UK there's a very useful system called the Small Claims Court. It's a county court, and a big airline will be send a bit of paper to their legal assistant saying that a claim has been put against you. They may not even bother pitching up, in which case it's a job done. The passenger who's claiming this against the airline will have a county court judgment, and that means that they can demand the money, and they demand it in a certain way. And of course, if the airline just ignores them, as it appears some of these airlines do, then they're fully entitled eventually to go to the bailiffs, who can legally enter a property and take items to the value of the claim. So I could just see how this is happening. Whether they can actually walk onto an airplane or not, I know that might be a bit of a stretch, but yeah,
they're going to get their money somehow, right?
Yeah. Well,
we'll pay you back in office furnitures and desk chairs.
Yeah. Once the injunction's out there, then you can use all the legal proceedings. You must have an equivalent in the States, I guess.
Yeah, we have a small claims court as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, magistrates court, I think that's sometimes called as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. You guys ready for this week's installment of the venerable Plane Tales?
So ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet.
Me too. Let's see if I can find it.
Glenn, where are you?
Where? I guess it's not in our show folder. It must be over in the Plane Tales folder, maybe.
Well,
Perhaps I should have paid
I
attention
found
to that
it
before
in
I
the
started.
show folder
You
earlier,
did?
but yes.
All right. Let me see. Well, I'm looking in the Evernote folder. Oh, here it is. It's right there. Thank you, Liz. I didn't see it.
Number 9.
Thank you. That would have helped.
Yeah.
All right. Take it away, old pilot.
The Old Pilot's Plane Tales. An interview with Sir Glenn Torpey, Part 1. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath. Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Distinguished Service Order. And Order of the Legion of Merit, United States. Sir Glenn Torpey has held many military posts, such as Station Commander RAF Bruggen, Assistant Chief of Staff at the Permanent Joint Headquarters in Northwood, the Director of Air Operations at the Ministry of Defence, Air Officer Commanding No. 1 Group, Air Component Commander for Operation Telic, Chief of Joint Operations at Northwood, the Chief of Staff and Aide-de-camp to Her Majesty the Queen. When I list his achievements, which include that of the most senior post within the Royal Air Force, the 28th to hold the position, it's easy to forget that Sir Glenn wasn't magically elevated to these remarkable positions and ranks. Like all Air Force pilots, he trained like everyone else. He served on a squadron as a junior pilot and progressed as many others have done before. He even fought in the Gulf War, and it's this part of his career that I want to concentrate on. I was delighted when he agreed to talk to us on the Airline Pilot Guy show and recount some of the more interesting parts of his career. He's going to tell all sorts of tall tales about his life in the Air Force. So, Glenn, first of all, thanks very much indeed for letting us all listen to you and hear your stories. Could you perhaps start by telling us, as a youngster, what drew you to a career in the Air Force?
Well, first of all, Nick, thanks very much for inviting me to talk to your listeners. Well, I come from an Air Force background. My great-grandfather was in the Royal Flying Corps right at the very end of the First World War, and my father was in the Air Force. So there was sort of a natural inclination to join the service, I suppose. But in reality, I didn't want to sort of walk just in father's and grandfather's footsteps. So I was interested in aeroplanes, naturally. I went off to university to study aeronautical engineering with the intention, actually, of going into the aerospace industry. But having got my degree from Imperial, went around the aircraft industry, trying to sell my wares in my third year, and came to the conclusion that whilst there were some fantastic jobs to do and fantastic career to be had in engineering, it probably wasn't going to be for me. And if I'm honest, I didn't think I'd get into the Air Force. I'd either fail the medical or I wouldn't achieve the aptitude standards. But anyway, I decided to have a go at it and surprised myself and everybody else, I think, and was accepted for pilot training. So that's really the way I got into it.
When you joined up, did you have an idea of where you wanted to be when you finish your career?
No, absolutely not. And lots of people say, did you ever think you'd end up as Chief of the Air Staff? And absolutely not. I think virtually everybody who joins the service, they join. Well, I joined because I wanted to fly airplanes, and the day I left the Air Force, I still enjoyed flying airplanes, and I had no aspiration but to get through flying training, get onto my first squadron, and that was my horizon at that stage.
Now, I wonder if you could just briefly describe the flying training you went through.
Well, I think I'd flown a couple of trips in a Chipmunk when I was an air cadet. but I'd never had any flying training at all until I joined the Air Force. So I did my 10 hours primary flying grading on Chippy, which was fairly hair raising as a youngster, to be quite honest.
I remember those days.
And then having got through that, went straight on to the good old Jet Provost, and did my basic flying training on that. Then having got through that, first of all on the Mark 3A, then the Mark 5. Then went on to the NAT up at Valley to do advanced flying training. Got through that, and then down to Broady on Tactical Weapons School on the Hunter. And so it was a pretty conventional flying training. We were quite lucky at that stage in that there weren't many holds going through training. So it was a fairly sort of seamless process, but still took, by the time I joined in September 74, and it was July 78 by the time I got to my first frontline squadron. So nigh on 4 years.
Now, as a student pilot, were there any of the flying prizes which you didn't actually win?
Quite a lot, actually. No, I mean, I was just fortunate at the end of the day.
Now, I think the cream rises to the top. You must have worn out a couple of pairs of shoes on your walks up to the stage to pick up yet another piece of silver. Now, from your course at Broady, where were you posted?
I went off to the Jaguar. So I suppose when I was going through the Tactical Weapons School, when you were sort of thinking about which frontline aircraft you were going to go on to, I'd actually held on 41 Phantom Squadron between advanced flying training and Broady. And the recce role of 41 Phantom were actually predominantly a recce squadron, but actually they did strike attack at the same time. And I was really sort of attracted to the role. So when it came to deciding where to, well, hopefully to go, I said, well, I'd like to go to Jaguar, and I'd specifically like to go to the recce squadron. And that's actually how it turned out. Went up to Lossiemouth on the OCU, and then I was posted down to Coltishall on 41 Squadron. Squadron had recently formed. We were about 18 months into the squadron's life, and could not have asked for a better bunch of people, but also a better role as well.
Now, that's an interesting choice, because most of us going through the fast jet world, I think, dreamed of being fighter pilots. Why recce?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said, Nick, that 41 Phantom was a strike attack and a recce squadron, although the primary role was recce. But they'd achieved the distinction of winning the tactical bombing competition, although it was only their secondary role. And we were trying to achieve exactly the same on 41 Jaguar. We were part of the Ace Mobile Force. So our deployment base, and you've got to remember this is 1978, so back end of the Cold War. Our deployment base was up in North Norway, a place called Bardufoss. Some of the best flying I've ever done. And we got around the world at the end of the day. It was a fantastic role. And the good old Jaguar, although it was maligned by lots of people, actually was a really good aeroplane, and great to fly a single seater as well.
Absolutely. I was just about to ask you what it was like to fly. I think you've answered that question. After your tour on Jags, where did you go next?
Well, I thought I was going to go across to our sister squadron at Larbrook, so 2 Squadron, which was the other recce squadron. But actually, I was posted off to RAF Broady back as a weapons instructor on the Hawk. So Hawk was just coming into service at the Tactical Weapons School. So there's a mix of Hunters and Hawks. And I was actually posted to 79 Squadron, which used to refresh people coming through as station commanders or squadron commanders. So actually, on reflection, although I was not very happy initially of going down there, it was a brilliant job. And I also, halfway through my tour, was given command of the QY course as well, so running the QY courses. So, a typical day would be you go off to the range, you'd go and do a 2v2, and then maybe off to another range sortie or a SAP sortie with a 4-ship and a bounce. So absolutely fantastic flying, to be quite honest. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot from these older guys coming through, more experienced guys coming through, who probably only took about 4 or 5 trips before they were back up to the standard they were 3 years ago when they finished their previous flying tour.
So even though they were in theory the students, they were still able to pass on some good gen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I learned a huge amount in that 3 years.
Brilliant. From there, you went on to the Tornado. Was that your choice?
Well, I went back to the Jaguar. So having finished Broady, I went back as a flight commander on 41. Then after that, went off to do two grand tours. One a year as on the RAF presentation team, which is actually a very interesting job.
Well, that must account for your fine speaking voice.
I wouldn't say that. And then I did staff college, and then out of staff college, I slipped through the net and was promoted, and I was given 13 Squadron. So that was the final Tornado Squadron which had formed, and the squadron had been disbanded about 10 years before it had been a Canberra squadron. So I was in a really fortunate position of starting a squadron from absolute scratch again. And again, in the recce role, but with a secondary attack role as well.
When you form a squadron from scratch with a brand new airplane, that's a bit of a steep hill to climb, isn't it?
In some ways, but actually, you know, it was a great chance to shape the squadron in the way that you'd like it to end up. And we were really lucky. We got brand new Batch 7 Tornadoes, picked them up from the factory at Wharton. They had about 5 hours on the clock. Because they were the latest batch, they were much more reliable than some of the earlier aircraft. We had a brand new hardened aircraft shelter site at RAF Honington. So all the infrastructure was fantastic. And I mean, the other feature of the recce Tornado was we had brand new state-of-the-art reconnaissance equipment, which was all infrared line scan. So we had 3 sensors, a vertical infrared line scan, 2 sideways looking infrared line scans, and it was all digitally, the imagery was all digitally recorded so that you could replay the imagery in the air, and the backseater could review the imagery and then data link that to the ground. That, of course, is if it was all working.
Yeah, well, it was a problem.
Which at the start, it wasn't.
No, fair enough. Now, not all of us are QIs. Could you put your QI hat back on for a second and just explain what infrared line scan is?
Well, basically, rather than using photographic sensors, the reason that the Tornado had gone down the infrared line scan was that the aircraft was designed to work during the Cold War. The assumption was that we would be flying at low altitude in poor weather and at night, and you obviously need an infrared sensor to be able to operate at night. So that's exactly how the sensors were designed. They were optimized to operate at low altitude, so at 200 feet, and optimized to work at night as well. And that's where the Tornado's niche was.
Excellent. Now, the Air Force had acquired that with a view to operating during the Cold War or a wider theater in mind?
No, I mean, Tornado was very much designed around the Cold War scenario of operating in Europe, poor weather. And the reason we went down the 2-seat role was it was felt that the pilot would have his work cut out operating the aircraft at night, low altitude. So you put most of the navigation and the weapons system into the back seat. And it was a really good division of labor, which you only really saw, to be quite honest, when you operated the aircraft in poor weather and at night.
Brilliant. Now, Glenn, your squadron had a great history. In fact, it's got a lovely emblem, which I think is commonly referred to as a stabbed cat. Perhaps you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, when we were putting the squadron together, we were deciding on what the emblem was going to be on the fin of the aircraft and what badges, all the normal stuff you do as a newly formed squadron. And the emblem of the squadron was a sword and a shield and a lynx head. And that's effectively how we put it together. And it did look like a stabbed cat at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm glad I managed to get that question in. Now, here's the meat of it, Glenn. How did you get involved in the Gulf War, and what stage you got to in your build-up on the squadron when that occurred?
Well, the initial cadre of people for the squadron formed in October of '89, and the squadron actually formed in the January of 1990. So we picked up our 12 single-seaters, 12 operational aircraft, and we had one T-Bird, which was an older aircraft. And formed the squadron, started gradually working the whole squadron up. We had quite an eclectic mix of people on the squadron. So we'd drawn people from different recce backgrounds, some Tornado guys, some single-seat guys from the Jaguar Force as well. So we had a good blend of people, and some young first tourists as well. So we had a good blend of people. But the main thing was, how do we get the recce equipment working as quickly as we possibly could? So we worked very much with industry to see how we could get this new embryonic kit going. So we spent the first sort of 6 months doing exactly that. And then you'll remember, Nick, that Saddam marches into Kuwait in August of 1990. And like any good squadron commander, he thought, well, I need a bit of this action somehow. So we managed to persuade the AOC, the Air Officer Commanding One Group, that although no one was committed to the operation at that stage, that we should at least start working up for it. So for that, we spent our time doing 100-foot flying during the day. And then at night, we were able to go and practice our terrain following capability. And we were allowed to fly around the UK down to 250 feet, which in normal peacetime, we were not allowed to do. You were limited to just 500 feet for safety and noise reasons as well. So in many respects, that period from August up to Christmas, it was just fantastic training, to be honest. And then the kit was improving by the day as well, but not hugely reliable, if I'm honest. So what then happened was, as Christmas came up, it was clear that an operation probably was going to happen of some description. And some Tornado squadrons, the mud moving squadrons, had already been deployed out to the Gulf. We had Jaguars out in the Gulf as well. And I was asked by Strike Command, would I go out to Riyadh and talk to the US about what the Tornado GR-1As might be able to do in the recce role because of its unique night recce capability. And the judgment was that whilst the kit may not be as reliable as we would ultimately like it, there was potential for us to provide a niche capability which would be valuable to the coalition. But it was all pretty late in the day at this stage. So we eventually deployed a combined detachment of 2 squadron, which was our sister squadron in Larbrook, and ourselves. And we deployed and ended up at Dhahran about a week before the war started.
We will leave it there until next week, when Sir Glenn describes some of the work his squadron did in the Gulf War and some of his personal recollections from missions he flew, some of which made my hair stand on end.
I'd like to see that.
Plain Tales is
Just
a
like
featured
this.
segment of the
Oh, you're
Airline
supposed to-
Pilot Guy Show.
you're supposed to wind
Aviation
it out.
podcast. Find us at
I don't hear what you're talking about.
You said you were going to cut the volume before that became.
I remember I said that. And it was a quite smart thing for me to say. It just, I wish that I had remembered that.
Well, that was something that we clearly rehearsed in rehearsal.
Yeah, I missed the rehearsal again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick. Nick added that at the very end because now this standalone podcast thing is going on. So we thought that perhaps somebody might stumble upon it and go, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe I'll check out that Airline Pilot Guy podcast, and then they'll be really, really disappointed.
I doubt it very much. But next week's one has the meat of it. I mean, this is what it was all about, and getting Glenn to talk about hunting scuds and other targets on his own at extremely low level, at extremely high speed, at night over the Iraqi forces. And I tell you what, that's the most terrifying job I think I could possibly imagine.
He was actually chasing missiles?
He was hunting out the missiles. They
really?
got called the Scud Hunters. One of their
Okay.
jobs was to try and find Scuds because they were obviously a big threat strategically rather than at the coalition forces. But of course, the coalition relied on countries doing what they were asked to do. And of course, Israel was on the brink of launching their own strikes, which might not have helped.
Right.
It's all very interesting stuff.
Yeah,
but,
it's fascinating to me. I can't wait to hear the other installments of this. We'll hear number 2, you said, the second part next week?
Yep.
And when he mentioned Bardufoss, Norway, my ears perked up because I've actually been to Bardufoss.
Oh, wow.
In my life, flying the 141.
Pretty cold up there.
It was very cold and white, like
Yes.
everything, absolutely
Yeah.
everything covered in
Wait.
snow and ice.
That was not I mean, Glenn said he loved the flying up there, but it's not a piece of the world I would necessarily want to go and deploy to. Somewhere with, nice beaches and cocktails with umbrellas in. That was more my thing.
Yeah, me too. Now, if I had to choose between like Bardufoss and somewhere out in the middle of the Middle Eastern desert, I'd probably choose Norway.
Yes,
myself.
yes. Nicer people.
Yeah.
No, it's not true. I'm sure there are some lovely people out there in the middle of the desert. But at the time in the Gulf War, not all of them were very friendly.
Complaints at Airline Pilot Guy.
Sorry.
Our
We know what
mission
you
to
meant.
offend as many people as possible
That's right.
in the shortest amount of time as possible.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Very good. Awesome. Love the gentleman, and can't wait for
Glenn
more.
was so kind to give up his time. So I really appreciated that.
Okay, moving on with 6. Hey, APG crew. This is my first time submitting feedback, but I wanted to pass along how much I really enjoy the show. I'm an instructor and first officer for a regional airline flying the Embraer 145 out of Philadelphia. Listening to the podcast increases my knowledge and makes my commute fly by, pun very much intended. Oh, I see. I didn't read that right. Listening to the podcast increases my knowledge and makes my commute fly by, pun very much intended. So, thank you for a great quality show. Wanted to share this story that I just witnessed. It was Wednesday, March 28th, about 6:15 p.m. local in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My captain and I were taxiing around the ramp towards runway 9 left for departure to Ottawa, Canada. As we pilots do, we were watching the planes take off as they zoomed by. It was the evening rush or evening push out of Philly. So planes are taking off every minute or so. Down the runway came American Flight 546, an Airbus A321, fully loaded, headed to Charlotte. As we saw its nose lifting off the ground, we saw 3 separate consecutive flames fire out the back of the number 1 engine. Immediately airborne, the plane suddenly banked about 30 degrees, then quickly righted itself. The flames, combined with a sudden bank, indicated that they had just had an engine issue. As many pilots know, the most dangerous time to have an engine failure is during rotation, as the airplane is developing, flying as the airplane is developing, is flying relatively slow, and aircraft control will be a challenge with no extra altitude to play with. I guess I probably didn't read that right.
No, I think there's a word missing. Maybe
lift.
I don't know what he was trying to put after developing.
Okay, so let me read it one more time, and I'll just keep the developing part out there. As many pilots know, the most dangerous time to have an engine failure is during rotation, as the plane is flying relatively slow, and aircraft control will be a challenge with no extra altitude to play with. I immediately asked my captain to take COM 1 to monitor ramp control, while I hopped on to COM 2 to pass on what I saw to tower and the aircraft. As I switched over, I heard, "Tower, American 546. We just had an EGT overtemp. Immediately, the whole tempo of the airport changed. The radios went from constant chatter, airplanes constantly moving around, to silent radio frequencies and no movement. ATC told everyone to stay off the radios and to stay where they are. Perhaps the most incredible part was seeing about 30 planes all scattered around the airport sitting there completely silent. Planes from different airlines in different countries were all quietly waiting and pulling for this crew to safely return all 196 souls on board. Although 9 left was in use for takeoff, the wind slightly favored 27 right for landing, so the crew of the 321 did a 180 to align with the runway for landing. After doing an additional 360 to get better established, the aircraft landed visually, came to a stop on the runway, and had fire trucks on the ground confirm the fire and the engine was out. As the aircraft taxied to the gate, multiple pilots congratulated American 546 on a job well done, as well as Philly Tower. This event demonstrates why pilots train the way we do. An airline pilot does these V1 cuts numerous times in simulator training, no less than once per year, and train to the point of near flawless performance. The pilots did an excellent job and safely brought back the plane and everyone on board. Even in today's most automated planes, pilots have no room for complacency. Great job, American 546. And thanks, Captain Jeff and the rest of the APG crew. And again, that's Kyle. Now, I went and did some sleuthing, some snooping, some investigation myself, and found the date and time that Kyle was talking about for this event. And I was able to find the actual event on the radio. So let's take a listen, and you'll probably hear Kyle's voice, I'm guessing.
American 546, 9 left, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, 9 left, American 546.
American 546, flighting 081, runway 90 left, clear for takeoff.
31, clear for takeoff, 9 left, American 546. Tower, American 546, we have an EGT over temp. We're going to need to fly straight ahead, please.
American 546, no problem. Let me know any assist you need.
Stand by.
Endeavor 3506, one thing to give a good point when he rotated. Flame on the left side engine.
What was that call for our flight? You saw a flame out the back end?
Yeah, Endeavor 3506. We saw a big flame and it's a little bit of smoke coming off the left side.
Roger.
That's 2 or 3 separate flames came out.
American 546, did you copy that? American 546, let me know whatever you'd like to do. We can get you right back around. If you're able to turn, we can offer you any runway.
Okay, we're going to fly straight ahead, take care of the problem. We'll give you a call, American 546. Stand by.
American 706 is ready.
American 706, roger. I'll get back to you. American 546, the MVA in that area is 1,600 feet. You have the bridge just off your left side there.
Yeah, we're climbing, American 546.
For all aircraft unrestricted, just remain silent for now. I'll get back to you in just a second with the sequence and for more departure plans. Just give me a minute. And American 546, I know that it's a little hazy out there. Philly altimeter's 3003.
3003, American 546.
American 546, I know you guys are busy, but if you need it, you have northeast Philly about 8 miles to your, about 10 o'clock there and 8 miles.
Yeah, we're just going to turn around. We're getting some altitude now, American 546.
American 546, no problem. Just let me know when you're able to turn. You can turn either direction you like. Just let me know when you're able to turn.
Yeah, either direction, whatever's best for you, American 546.
All right, American 546, when able, turn right heading 180.
Right turn, 180, American 546.
American 546, your choice. If you want to work the issue out, and we can get you back in here for 9 right, or if you want to come straight in for 27 left or 27 right, your choice.
Yeah, no need to go around the traffic. We'll just come around for runway 9 right, American 546.
All right, American 546. We'll get you up a little higher in case of any further emergencies. You can climb and maintain 4,000 for now if you can do that. Heading up 200.
4,000, 200, heading American 546.
American 546, when you get the chance, let me know souls on board and also fuel, please.
Okay, we got 3 hours and there is 196 souls on board.
196, I didn't catch the fuel. Say it again.
3 hours.
Thank you.
You know what, American 546, we're going to take the option to use 27 right.
American 546, Roger, you can proceed in with the right turn heading 300. And we're going to get you set up for the ILS to 27 right.
ILS 27 right, we're going to plan 300 heading now, American 546.
American 546, yeah, continue that right turn. I'm going to get you in for the ILS at 27 right, heading 360 and descend and maintain 3000.
360, heading at 3000, American 546.
American 546, it looks a little hazy out there right now. They're advertising few at 3000. I don't know if the visual is going to work. Let me know if you do pick up the airport. If not, I'm just going to run you on the ILS.
Yeah, plan. Yeah, the ILS.
American 546, thank you. Flighting 360 and maintain 3000.
360, 3000. American 546.
American 546, descend and maintain 2,100. And this will be setting you up for the ILS to runway 27 right. It'll be opposite direction. The track that was landing runway 9 right, they already pulled them out for you. American 546, turn left heading 290, join the 27 right low buzzer.
290 is join American 546. 290 is heading. Yep.
American 546, if you can hear me, you guys sound like you have a stuck mic. And if you need to, heading 240, left turn heading 240 to join.
Think so? Yeah, let's do that. Whoa,
American 546, heading 240 to join, please.
Yeah, we're going to join localized 546.
American 546, thank you. You're 3 miles from Jalta, maintain 2,100, establish your localizer, cleared ILS, runway 27 right approach. Just to confirm, American 546, you're cleared for the ILS, runway 27 right approach. American 546, if you can just let us know what the fuel in pounds, if you happen to know that off the top of your head.
Yeah, we're going to do a 360 American 546. Would a left work better?
American 546, that's fine. A left turn, left 360 is fine. Would you like to be taken out a little farther for the ILS and setup?
That'll work for us, American 546.
Okay, another 4 minutes or so remaining in the edited audio that I pulled from this. Let me see if I can get toward the end here where they're saying job well done, but the whole thing will be in the show notes.
Yeah, out there on the left engine.
Yeah, they told me that your engine fire is out. It appears to be out. I'm going to have a couple vehicles follow them over to the gate.
Roger. American 546, if you're able to taxi, just continue, proceed westbound on 27 right, and you're going to exit at the high-speed Kilo 4.
We'll exit high-speed Kilo 4, American 546.
And for everybody else standing by, thanks for your patience. We're going to get a sequence to everybody here soon, and we'll be rolling shortly.
Good job, fellas.
The American 546, you guys did a nice job out there. And
all right, so there you go. About 9.5 minutes total running time, and toward the end of there, when they landed safely on the runway, the tower comments that they can still see some smoke coming from that engine and a little bit of fire, but I guess it finally extinguished itself once they were stopped on the runway. So Kyle, I'm sure that was Kyle's voice there at the beginning saying that they witnessed the 3 bursts of flame, etc. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, great audio. Thanks for sharing the story and pointing us towards that. It's good to listen to. So.
Yeah, and as usual, I ended up cutting it all up and putting it together so it wouldn't take so long. That was probably 1/4 of the length of time all that took. But job well done. But I mean, I was very impressed with the tower controller. He was really on top of everything. He was calm and he was aware of the things that the pilots would be concerned about, like the bridge and their altitude and the city and all that. So I thought that was a pretty well job. Let me try that again. Pretty good job well done.
Easier said than done.
No, it's
unlike
not.
this show. Very professional, wasn't it, Jeff? Very professional.
Yes.
And you mentioned that the controller was calm. What I heard was that the pilots are really calm as well.
Yeah, that little snippet there where they actually were transmitting, they thought they were had a stuck mic, or maybe one of them didn't let go of the microphone switch. You could actually hear a little bit of the conversation in the cockpit, and it was very calm. They were discussing what they were doing, and didn't seem like they were stressed out at all.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Kyle, for not only sending in the audio, but I mean the feedback, but for actually being a part of that story. Sealview writes in, haven't seen or haven't sent feedback in a while, and give you guys an update on my flight training. So far, I'm sitting at almost 7 flight hours with a temporary student pilot certificate and a nice Class 3 medical exam. So there is a long way ahead, and we'll give you updates as progress happens or if I stumble upon anything along the way. As I did stumble across a video while browsing YouTube, here's a link. You guys might have seen it, but some of your listeners might not. So let us know what you guys think and if it brings your accuracy above that 50%. Nothing but the best from here, Kilo Papa Whiskey Kilo, my home airport. Tailwinds, unlimited visibility, turbulence-free air, unlimited IPAs, and bourbon for Dana. Sealview out. Now, apparently I didn't do any prep work on this piece of feedback, so let me see if I can... you probably can't hear that. So
Yeah, I heard that, all right.
Did you? Okay.
Hi, I'm Roger. Would you like to go on an adventure your ancestors would have sold their souls for? Well, at Horton Airlines, we'll give you the miracle of flight and then ruin it.
If airlines were
Every
honest.
day, my airline sends out dozens of these metal arm tubes through the sky, which I've conquered. And we do that by packing those tubes with thousands of you people. Sometimes I forget that you're entire people and not butts that somehow possess plastic debt rectangles. Oh, also, please use my plastic debt rectangle. I'll give you points I made up if you do. And almost all of you will forget to turn those points into anything but the initial dopamine rush of receiving them, which is almost something. Anyway, use some present or future currency to make an appointment for your posterior with one of my sky chairs. And live in fear of missing that appointment. Even though when you show up for that appointment very early, it'll be the most degrading experience of your entire year. Upon arrival at the arm tube barn on the outskirts of your city, you'll let several strangers inspect your junk and your genitals, unless you paid the government a fee so you could use the short line and have freedom. Just remember, it'll
All right.
all
So I don't want to play the whole thing here, but interesting comedic video from Cracked. That's CRACKED. No reference at all to your junk, although it could be. Thank you, Sealview.
Am I the only one that was laughing at that initially?
No,
Yeah,
that
because
was
you're the
good.
one that has that horrible sense of humor.
He kept talking about Hortons. Is that a company in the States? No,
No, not that I'm
okay.
aware of.
I used to go to a restaurant, I'm pretty sure, called Hortons in Pasadena, but might be a coincidence.
I think it may be, yes. Hopefully we won't get spanked by YouTube for playing so much of that video. But anyway, thank you, Sealview, for sending it in. And again, the link to that entire video will be in the show notes so you can watch it yourself. Trevor sent some feedback. He says, hey, Captain Jeff, hope you're doing well. I recently wrapped up initial training for the Caravan G1000 that my company has purchased, and I thought I'd record a little trip report for the APG community. While this sort of high-intensity training is probably routine for y'all in the airlines and corporate aviation, this was my first time going through any sort of structured higher aviation education. For a flight sim nerd turned real pilot like me, for a flight sim nerd turned real world pilot like me, it was a really awesome experience. Take care and happy Easter. Okay, he sent this in a little while ago. Not too long ago, though. So again, that's Trevor in Colorado, and let's take a listen.
Hey there, APG crew and community. It's Trevor from Colorado here. Just wanted to send in a quick trip report, if you will, from the past 11 days that I spent in Wichita, Kansas for the Caravan G1000 initial training. This is training that's required by our insurance carrier, and it was to prepare myself and another company pilot for operating our new aircraft that my company has. As far as the training itself went, I arrived on Wednesday for class that started on Thursday. The classroom portion ran 8 to 5 each day with a 1 hour break for lunch. So there was a lot of information. As you can imagine, it was pretty intense. A lot of information that you have to cover and to learn and understand, ask questions, that sort of thing. The class itself ran from Thursday through Saturday with a test on Saturday afternoon to wrap things up. I'm happy to say that fortunately I passed the test with flying colors, if you'll pardon the pun. But yeah, it was certainly a challenging bit of information and definitely drinking out of the fire hose, as the saying goes. With the classroom portion behind us, we had Sunday off, which I actually used to go on a solo trip up to the Cosmosphere in Hutchinson, Kansas. It's the largest combined collection of U.S. and Russian spaceflight artifacts in the world. And I hadn't actually been there since I was a kid, probably 25 years ago. So it was great to see everything that has changed. And, like I said, a huge collection, a lot of great artifacts. Then on Monday, we started the sims. My sim partner, who is one of our other company pilots, and I had the prime sim slot of 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. each day, which those of you who know how simulator training goes, that was actually a really cush time slot. The simulators, from what I recall, run like 20 or 22 hours a day. So you can end up with some really early or some really late sim slots. We actually had this nice cushy one that we could sleep in a little bit and then go home and study and have plenty of time to refresh and prepare for the next day. But the sim days themselves consisted of 2 hours of a pre-flight briefing, discussion, kind of talking through what we were going to do. And then we went to the sims, which were back-to-back 2-hour blocks of time in the full motion level D simulator. These are the same type of full motion sims that I'm sure the APG crew is intimately familiar with, only these were scaled down to replicate a Cessna Caravan G1000 instead of a Mad Dog or an Airbus or whatever it may be. So very realistic. The full motion really adds a new depth, and it was really cool. Just kind of a digression. I've been a flight simmer for nearly 3 decades. So, to be able to fly and train and log time in a level D full motion simulator made the whole experience somewhat of a pinch me moment. I mean, it was definitely cool. I really enjoyed it. So anyhow, each sim day, we would cover a handful of topics, learn how to deal with in-flight emergencies, fly both visual and instrument approaches, you name it, we would cover it. So I'd fly for 2 hours in the left seat, we'd take a short break, and then my sim partner would fly for his 2 hours in the left seat with me in the right seat. So we'd swap back and forth. So it was pretty intense. We didn't really act as a crew. All this was done single pilot, which is kind of our main focus as a company operator. But the last day we did a little crew coordination, CRM. So that was good as well. After each session, we would spend about half an hour debriefing and discussing the plan for the next day, kind of special emphasis areas, just kind of get a lay of the land for our next sim session. So we had time to prepare that evening for what we were going to see the next day. And it went on like that for an entire week with us practicing instrument approaches, short field landings, takeoffs, engine failures, air data computer failures, emergency descents, icing equipment failures, fuel emergencies, you name it, we went through it. We ran the gamut on it. A lot to cover, but I think I ended up with something like 27 takeoffs and 15 instrument approaches by the end of the week. So yeah, there was a lot of sim flying. Finally, on late Friday afternoon, I had managed to check off all of the required activities. So we got to have a little bit of fun and try an aircraft carrier landing in the Cessna Caravan. I made it. It wasn't pretty, but with the help of a headwind, I think I stopped in a mere like 300 feet or so. We taxied back and then took off again. So, yeah, it was a fun way to cap training and hopefully a completely useless exercise for the flying that we'll be doing here in Colorado, since there are not many aircraft carriers to land on here. After the week of training, Monday through Friday, I had one more sim session at 5 a.m. on Saturday. This was called the Line-Oriented Simulator Training, or appropriately enough, LOST. Fortunately, I'm happy to say I did not get lost. I actually made it through the simulated IFR flight from Portland to Seattle and then to Wenatchee in eastern Washington without incident. And, despite the early report time, it was fun to be able to do something other than take off and fly an approach or have some sort of in-flight emergency. It was great to use the Caravan in a point A to point B sort of fashion like it's supposed to do. So now I guess I'm a certified Caravan G1000 pilot and look forward to flying our company plane soon. It was a great experience. Really gave me insight into the world of training that corporate aviators, commercial pilots, airline pilots, you name it, that they go through. I have a whole new respect for the intensity of that training when you're learning a new airplane. Anyhow, that's my trip report. Thanks for indulging me, and keep up the great work. blue skies. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Trevor. Awesome trip report, and thanks for letting us kind of get a glimpse into that training program for the Caravan G1000.
I like the caravan on the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing that.
Probably not
Absolutely
practical, but
No, not at all. But nice to
A lot
have a
of
little
fun,
bit of
though.
fun in all the
See, I always
more
thought
serious
a caravan,
training.
a caravan got towed behind a Volvo, but I'm obviously thinking of something else.
Yeah, no, we call those trailers here.
Yeah, not a caravan.
No, they're caravans.
No,
No.
Caravan is like a whole bunch of those in a
A
line.
whole bunch of those.
Yeah,
Like a whole bunch of vehicles
a
traveling
whole bunch
together.
of vehicles.
No, that's not a caravan. That's a convoy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we screw everything up.
A caravan is a bunch of camels going through the desert.
A bunch of camels. Yeah,
A
there you
line
go.
of camels. There you
Yeah,
go.
there. That's
Well,
why
do
we
you
call.
have lines of camels on your freeways?
Well, no, they're not. They're mechanical camels. It makes sense to us. Leave us alone.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tough crowd, Jeff. Real tough crowd.
It is very tough crowd. But quick question from Andrew about contrails. Contrails.
We can't talk about
Be
that.
careful the way you articulate your answer here. Okay.
Mm.
My name is Andrew. Yesterday afternoon, I was driving and saw one of the many Europe, Middle East to LAX flights that often pass over northern Utah. While at a stoplight, I looked it up on FlightAware and saw that it was a DLH 456D Delta Alpha India Hotel Yankee A340 642.
Woo!
Woohoo! Okay, the thing that prompted me to submit this was the contrails. Engines 1 through 3 were all parallel. Number 4 was not parallel to the others, but separated noticeably away from the others immediately after the plane. What could cause this? Thank you.
Heavy landing. Heavy landing.
Heavy landing. Bent wing.
Bent the pylon. He
Well,
probably dinked it against something. It's a cargo carrier version, so they wouldn't notice that sort of thing.
I know. No. I said, I think it's obviously the chemtrail ejector pod located between the number and 3 and 4 inches, which sometimes disrupts the airflow. Okay. Shh. I have no idea.
You'll have the chemtrail police after you.
I know. They're already on to me.
Yeah.
Do you really have any idea what would cause that? That is kind of odd.
No. I mean, to have an asymmetry in the airflow around an aircraft between just the distance between the engines would be quite difficult, I guess. But you could be in the edge of a jet stream that might just tweak one of the trails away from the aircraft. I don't know.
That was my only thought, just being like right on the boundary of diverging airflow, but who knows?
Yeah.
He was over northern Utah. It's just a strange place anyway. So.
Oh, I know. Utah, northern Utah. Don't they have a lot of aliens?
I mean, it's close enough to New Mexico, so yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we helped you, Andrew.
It could be the 340-600 with the vector thrust, because he might have been vectoring that engine. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to scoot a little bit more to the left, so it was using the vector.
Exactly right. Yeah, just twisting that pod out slightly and vectoring that.
Nice. All right, let's move on. 11. As a Part 141 college student with just under 300 hours and about a month from graduation, I'm starting to look at regional airlines to possibly fly for. I plan on instructing until I reach my 1,000 hours required for the restricted ATP, but feel like I should look at airlines now. My question is regarding looking at different airlines, regional or major. What would be your suggestion for what to look for or look at in different airlines, and how did you decide on the airline you've flown for? Was it pay, bonuses, bases, culture, benefits, aircraft, and which is most important? Thanks for the great content. You and the APG crew make the long hours of homework easier. Thanks. And again, this is certified flight instructor Patterson. Well, I mean, he named many of the considerations for looking at the various airlines, and honestly, it depends on what your priorities are, what you consider to be the most important of all those things that you mentioned there. And chances are that no matter what carrier that you pick, it's possible for that airline to suffer problems in the future. There's no crystal ball that I know of. You think about some of the great airlines out there, TWA, Pan Am, Braniff, Eastern, they're all gone. And they were if you had said to somebody, 30, 40 years ago that these airlines were no longer going to be here, people would think you were crazy.
Yeah, you don't have to get your choice exactly right first time, though, because when you're starting on your career, your seniority is not nearly so important to you as when you're later on in your career. You can't afford to give up that seniority. But at the beginning, so long as you're not tied to an airline with, say, some kind of bond, then I don't see anything wrong with going for the airline you think. But if a year or two down the road, you go, this airline isn't really where I wanted to be. I wanted to be over there. I see absolutely nothing wrong at that stage in your career with switching and making sure you're in the airline that suits you. Does type of flying and has all the remuneration you expect, because you won't drop that far back in the seniority system. The thing is to try and get that early decision right, and then stick with the airline that you go for your career, because once those seniority numbers start to build, that's not the time to pull out.
No, a caveat, and maybe Dana is going to address this, is that the way or the hiring cycle we're undergoing right now in the U.S., a year and a half could mean more than 1,000 positions of change in your seniority. So perhaps at a smaller airline that's not hiring at such a quick pace, that may not be such a big deal, but that's something you have to be very careful about, because that you could be giving up quite a bit of lifestyle and benefits and pay over that year and a half period.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I was just going to talk about. The other thing is I find that most people that are not in this business have a real tough time understanding that when we get hired by a company, we're pretty much married to that company for our career. A lot of people don't understand that when you go from you can't go very easily from airline to airline, and I find that I explain it as this. I mean, you can be an international 777 captain flying overseas, have 30 years of experience, but if the airline happens to go out of business or whatever happens, you're no longer employed there. Even with all that experience, you start at the bottom of a seniority list as a junior, just hired person. It does not matter what type of experience you have. So a lot of the people that are out there that have no understanding of our industry can't have a tough time grabbing onto that concept that we just can't move from company to company.
Of course, it depends on where you are in the world. Now, for instance, we know somebody in our community whose airline folded, and he was a captain for that airline, and he was hired by another European airline as a captain. So I guess it's kind of comparing apples and oranges based on where Captain Nick and his world and the way they do things and the way it works over here in the United States on a almost pure seniority system.
Yeah, but I would wonder, and probably on a seniority basis, even though he's hired as captain, he's the most junior captain at that airline at that point.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, I'm sure to a certain extent his seniority is affected. But again, I think that CFI Patterson here is most likely asking about the world of U.S. carriers.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's...
I would say this, you're coming out of a Part 141 college. You have, I'm sure plenty of folks around you who are looking at similar career paths, and there may be some folks who are ahead of you in this process. I think it never hurts to network, talk to people who are just ahead of you, people who have gone through the process recently, people who are at, if you're looking at regional airlines or other similar carriers, find out what they like, what they don't like, because it may not just be as straightforward as what you can put on paper, pay, bonuses, bases, aircraft. You did mention in there culture and other things like that. And, that's important too in considering where you want to work. Find out where people are happy and talk to people who have similar interests and career paths as you as well, because those are the folks who can probably give you the best information.
Well, the one other thing I was going to mention is that it's always a changing industry. So you may choose one airline over another right now, but in 10 years, or even in some cases when you retire, is when you know that you made the right or the wrong decision. And one of the other things that I would take into consideration is, where do you want to live? Do you want to commute? Those are some of the questions. It's not necessarily always about the airline, individual airline. There are always similarities. They're in pay and benefits, because we all, we kind of all build our contracts against each other. And it just comes down to quality of life. Do you want to live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or do you want to live in Anchorage in case of UPS, or do you, where are you from, and where do you prefer to live? So a lot of it's quality of life in whether you want to commute. Those are the two things that I would look at personally.
And it really, again, depends on the person. We all know people who put an emphasis on pay and rapid upgrade, and others that put an emphasis on their lifestyle, living where all their family is, and putting up with commuting, and maybe giving up some of that seniority for that kind of lifestyle. So it's really
individual.
It's hard to say, Yeah, it's an individual thing.
It really is. You have to prioritize what you want in your airline career, really.
Yeah. All right. The next few here, as we close out the show, are basically follow-ups from some earlier shows. Nir in Israel writes, aerial refueling of commercial airline flights makes no financial sense because of the costs. Technically, it's viable and is performed routinely with militaries worldwide. An excellent example is Air Force One's refueling capability. It's a Boeing 747 airframe, but is it a commercial airliner? Having said all that, how and where would you start trying to certify such a capability with the FAA? Imagine the safety requirements that one would be required to meet, test, and qualify. All the best, Nir. Yeah, and we basically were saying that as well. The cost just would not support the flexibility and convenience of aerial refueling. Lou, 13, just wanted to respond to Dr. Steph's question as to whether computer viruses can mutate like biological viruses in response to the story about Boeing being hit by the WannaCry virus. The answer to that question is yes. Computer viruses do self-mutate. The term in the industry for this is polymorphic virus, or a polymorphic virus, to try to avoid detection. This is just one of a large bag of trips. Man, can't read today.
Yeah, this English language is real tough.
It's tough on me.
It's tricky.
It's not my native language, obviously.
No, blather, I think, is your native.
Yes. All right, let's see.
Oh, these.
Oh, Dana's gone.
Would you like me to read this one, Jeff?
Sure.
Do you want me to start over? And
I'll start from the beginning.
Lou, responding to my question. He says, greetings, everyone. I just wanted to respond to Dr. Steph's question as to whether computer viruses can mutate like biological viruses in response to the story about Boeing being hit by the WannaCry virus. The answer to that question is yes. Computer viruses do self-mutate. The term in the industry for this is a polymorphic virus to try to avoid detection. This is just one of a large bag of tricks that virus writers use to try to avoid detection. However, this is just part of the story behind WannaCry. Much like a biological virus would need some sort of infection vector to get into the victim, an open wound, an animal bite, inhalation of germs, etc. So does a computer virus. In the case of WannaCry, it took advantage of a flaw in Windows that allowed it to sneak into the system and infect it. However, this particular flaw was fixed a year ago, right around the time WannaCry hit the news. While the first WannaCry victims understandably may not have gotten around to installing the fix before they were infected, due to the fix only barely being out before the virus hit, Boeing has no excuse for waiting this long to install the fixes and updates necessary to keep WannaCry out. Anyway, love your show. Blue skies and tailwinds to all of you. Lou A.
Yeah, but we can understand Boeing. I mean, they're hardly into the computer age yet. I mean, they're still messing about with yokes and wires and I don't know.
Yeah.
So you've got to give them a
Nick.
bit of a break.
Yeah, the 787 is not advanced.
Yeah, not advanced at all. 777's not advanced. No, not at all.
All right. You know, we almost made it through an entire APG episode without the Airbus Boeing thing. Almost. We got close.
Almost.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
very close.
No Airbus involved. I was just slating Boeing.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you, Lou A, for schooling us on polymorphic viruses. I was wondering about that the other day. David writes, thought I would drop you a line regarding the feedback on 317 and Level, which is operated by Iberia. The airline is a newish, low-cost, long-haul carrier set up by a... Nick, you want to read this one?
Sorry, the dogs are barking. I couldn't
okay.
possibly.
I'll start over. The airline is a newish, low-cost, long-haul carrier. Dana, would you like to read this one?
Yeah, I could do it for you. I'm sitting right
Why
here.
don't you start from thought?
Thought I would drop you a line, the feedback, I don't like
regarding
exactly. That's the feedback on APG 317 in Level, which is operated by Iberia. The airline is a newish low-cost long-haul carrier set up by IAG, who owns BA, Aer Lingus, and Iberia, among others. The flights are operated by Iberia, although the intention was for Level to work towards its own AOC over time. Airline Operating Certificate, I believe that's what he's saying there. It is a little different in that rather than a small outfit operating the flight for a larger name, it's an established and well-regarded operator flying for a less well-known airline. As ever, great show. Keep the blue side up, the wheels on the tarmac, and when required, it just ends it right there. Best
and the wheels on the
regards.
tarmac when required.
Oh, well,
none of us can read.
Speak for yourselves. I think I read just fine this time around.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you did.
I've been working on my reading skills.
Have you?
Yeah.
I used to have a little sound clip in here for Steph, and I don't think I've used it in a couple of years.
I don't even remember what it
You
was.
say it right, years. And that's why nobody understands me.
Yes.
You don't want me reading because nobody can
Yes.
understand what I'm saying. Yes.
But you guys were here first, so we should all.
Yes. We have the proper English accent of
Really?
the
I've
United
never heard
States.
that stuff. They were here first?
I've never heard that either. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Northeasterners.
I'm just letting you guys get on with it.
Just sitting back and watching.
Break out the popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Well, I'm curious to
Yeah.
know what the sound clip was because I don't even remember.
I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to remember exactly what the.
Well, at least somebody understands me. Mariana understands me. So that's a good thing.
Never heard Mariana speak. Does she sound like you?
I don't know. I've never heard her speak either, but she said in the chat room, I understand you, Dana.
Oh.
So there's at least one person in this world that understands me. My wife certainly doesn't. Oh, she just doesn't listen.
Oh boy. I think the longer we go on, the more in trouble you're going to get, Dana.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Nah. I love my beautiful bride.
Let's see here. Okay, I found it. Let me see if it's what I was thinking it was.
It sounds like pole dancing music. Not that I'd know.
I've forgotten that we had that.
Stuff can't be wrong.
I'm never wrong.
It's been a long time since I played that.
It's been a very long time.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're still under 3 hours, believe it or not.
Lucas.
And with Lucas. And he sent us a very smart looking photo of himself and his lovely bride on the beach of a beautiful island. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. Does anybody have any idea how to pronounce that? Cook Island?
Aitutaki? Aitutaki?
Aitutaki? I don't know.
Aitutaki? I have no idea. There's a couple of
Yeah.
vowels there.
Looks strange, but it's a beautiful looking place out in the Pacific Ocean. And he is wearing a very stylish T-shirt with a certain logo on it. And here, let me play the audio that he sent with us.
Hey, APG crew, it's Flying Kiwi. How are you? Just catching up with you guys. I'm a few episodes behind because I have been on vacation. It's my first vacation in a year. Went back to the lovely island of Aitutaki, which is in the Cook Islands.
There you go.
Went for 10 days, so packed a lot of T-shirts, and one of which was my Acme Airline Pilot Guy T-shirt, which I strode around the island in trying to drum up some publicity for you. But sadly, it's a very small island and they're not terribly aviation focused, although the airstrip is about half the length of the island. I have worn it a couple of times in a few different aero clubs in New Zealand and had got recognition for that. So you are world famous in New Zealand, as we like to say down here. And it got me thinking, maybe in the vein of extreme ironing or the planking craze that went on a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that? When people would go up mountains or do abseiling with ironing boards and take pictures of themselves doing extreme ironing. Maybe we could have an Acme T-shirt, extreme Acme T-shirt, or exotic locales Acme T-shirt competition. Maybe in front of a cool aeroplane or on the top of a mountain or upside down in a cockpit or something like that. All very safe, obviously. So in that case, here is my entry. So that's me on the beach with my Airline Pilot Guy T-shirt and Aitutaki. So beat that, everybody. Go on then. A couple of other things. Recently sold my house. Moved up to a nice beach location. So I had a bit of cash in the bank for the old holiday. But why that's of aviation note is I obviously have APG syndrome or just some sort of weird aviation sickness because during the sort of thrust and parry of the offer negotiation for the house, the number got very, very close to a very specific number that I was after, and I just couldn't resist. Captain Nick will probably make vomiting noises very shortly. The offer that I finally accepted, which I fabricated. So the ending offer was 747-800. Sorry, Captain Nick, it's Airbus's fault for having really low model numbers. A380 wasn't going to cut it for me, so it got to be 747-800. It's a very, very sad joke, and my partner rolled her eyes, and none of the other parties got it. So, just continuing on with the saga of my medical, I have still not convinced the CAA that I'm safe enough to do these things, or it's still in review. So poor Glenn Towler hasn't gone up for his promised flight yet, and it's been a while. I'm looking at doing what is known as an RPL though to get me back into the air, which is kind of an odd thing. I'm not sure if it's a New Zealand specific thing. I think they modeled it off something in the US, but it's a type of a pilot's license, a recreational pilot license that you can get without having a class 1 or class 2 medical. I believe the medical requirements are less stringent, and this is probably for microlight type pilots or aging pilots who are struggling to get class 1 and class 2 medicals. There are a few restrictions of it, which most of which don't bother me. However, I'm only allowed to take one person in an airplane at a time, which seems to be kind of a weirdly arbitrary figure. Instead of taking 3 or 4 people in an airplane, I can only take one. And I kind of wonder what sort of cost-benefit analysis the CAA did to come up with that. Like, it's okay to only kill one person as opposed to 3 people at a time should I suffer a medical emergency in the cockpit. It's a bit odd, which isn't a huge problem for me. I normally fly the Tomahawk, which is only a 2-seater, so I usually take one person at a time. But yeah, kind of miss taking my mates around places and going to markets or going for that, $200 hamburger somewhere. And it would be good to take Glenn and maybe this other pretender in New Zealand, Luke, who thinks I stole his Flying Kiwi moniker. I've had Flying Kiwi for a while, mate, so sorry. But if you are in the Wellington region, let me know and get in touch. In fact, we should probably organise some sort of New Zealand/Wellington meetup at some point, since there seems to be a lot of us in New Zealand. So maybe we should all get in touch. Anyway, thanks for the great podcast, guys. It's been really helping me out into the transition back to work, listening to you guys and chuckling along. So congratulations to Captain Dana for his soon-to-be first captain's ride. Have a good one, mate, and you're going to be awesome. Good luck to everybody else, and keep the blue side up. Cheers very much. Flying Kiwis out.
Lots of APG community members living in Wellington, which, of course, as everyone knows, is on the southern portion of the North Island. I know that.
Yeah, I've flown out of there.
And you've always known that, correct?
I've always known that, regardless of what I've said.
Oh.
What I meant to say was, so he was talking about the T-shirt and the Extreme APG T-shirt.
So hey,
contest.
Lucas, challenge accepted. You're on.
I know. I've thought of everybody did. I'm sure listening to that, thinking, "Oh my gosh, what is Dr. Steph going to do wearing her?"
Yep.
I will put a disclaimer out there as HR, switching roles for a moment. The APG show does not endorse you doing anything that might be inherently dangerous or otherwise as part of any implied endorsement of a T-shirt competition, which we may or may not be officially endorsing. I don't know. So
what, like jumping out of airplanes?
Be safe out there, kids. Don't try any of this at home.
I'm a little confused, though. The picture that he sent doesn't look extreme to me.
He did say exotic locations, so that's one.
Exotic.
So there's different
Okay.
categories of the,
Okay. Yeah. And the extreme ironing, I must
was
have
not
missed that
familiar with that one. I do remember the planking craze, but extreme ironing was not something that I recall.
Oh, you'll find plenty of photographs on Google if you Google
I will check it out after we
People
finish. I'm fascinated.
Ironing shirts on underwater, up Everest, all sorts of places.
Okay.
I'm
Very
jealous.
interesting.
I don't even have a T-shirt.
Well, you need to get one.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's not like I can just go on to any website on the internet and just buy an APG
Yeah, it's not like
T-shirt.
you could just do that. I guess he's hinting that I need to send him a T-shirt. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think it's now time
cheap
to end the show.
I'll bring
by
a
telling
T-shirt.
you That if you want your APG T-shirt and you want to win this competition that we have not structured and we are not encouraging or
Officially endorsing? Yeah.
endorsing, you can head over to airlinepilotguy.com and there you'll see ways to order merchandise, to join the Coffee Fund cadre, to learn about the crew, the community, and so much more. Again, that's airlinepilotguy.com. And we have some apps for your smartphones and tablet devices, and they are on the respective app stores. Just do a search for Airline Pilot Guy. Free and not ad supported. By the way, our show is free and not ad supported. It's user supported. And thank you again, all of you who are contributing to the Coffee Fund and are part of our Coffee Fund cadre. We really do appreciate it. And if you want to follow us during the week between shows, you should follow us on social media.
On social media, you can find us on Twitter at APG Crew is the handle you want to use. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy, all kinds of interesting activity going on, not just from crew members, but also the community around the world.
Absolutely. And then a quasi social media site. You can join us on the, what do you call it? Slack group, or the Slack team, I think he calls it. Hillel, help me.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan meetups and events. To get into the Slack team, please send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @HI11E1, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel @HI11E1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thank you, sir. And let's see. Don't forget, we have a couple of meetups this next week. Monday, Norfolk, Virginia. Tuesday, Columbus, Ohio. Hope to see you there. And until we meet again, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Adios, muchachos.
That was terrible. Horrendous. I'm offended. I'm appalled. So what are we going to do? Oh, what else? Email it to everybody we know. Good idea.
Love it. Excellent.
Thanks.
All right. Good show. Good show. Except for the reading part on my part.
Yeah, we're there for
You're
you.
forgiven.
Yeah. Well.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a nice
By the way-
soliloquy.
I must congratulate you. The timing of this show has been perfect. It's 6:30, time to have supper and a bottle of wine. So this is brilliant.
You must be tickled.
It was all for you.
I am tickled pink, as they say.
That was
That-
perfect for me too. I had to leisurely roll out of bed around like 8:30 in the morning and got a Starbucks overpriced beverage and joined you guys. Spent the morning
Oh, I
with you.
forgot to mention at the very end, our producer, Liz. Sorry, Liz. Dang it.
Just add it in post.
Yeah.
You can do that.
And Liz, our producer.
Poor Liz.
We love you, Liz.
She works
Yeah.
so hard as well.
She does.
I know. Puts up with a lot. With a lot. Me.
All of our abuse.
Yeah.
She
My
loves
general
you.
lack of organizational skills.
Mm.
That's why we need her. Excellent.
What was it? 318. Right.
I think we got it in. We started about 6 minutes into my recording, and I'm at 3:05 right now, so just under.
Yep, 3:06 here. So
Okay.
I saw mine at 2:58. That's perfect right at the end of the show. So
Yeah. And let's see. We will put that first installment of the Plain Tales on what used to be the Plain Tales podcast on iTunes. It was so short-lived. Short-lived.
Oh, well, there you go.
all done. Bye-bye.
The bowl season is starting shortly, so I won't miss it at all.
Oh boy. What else? Thank you everybody in the chat room for hanging out with us. And
absolutely,
you guys are the best.
You
Seriously.
are. Let's see. I don't know if any of our folks that are going to be meeting with us in Columbus. Dana, they were in the chat room
Jen
earlier.
had to
weren't
go.
they?
Yeah.
Jen had to go, and I'm not sure if
James.
James is still
I
there.
don't know if we ever see James in there, do we?
I saw him here today.
He was there
Okay.
today.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw
For quite a while.
Actually,
Excellent.
just very recently had said something.
Yeah, I was chatting to him.
Oh, okay. That's right. He mentioned that we were going to Walrus. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So what do they
Sister?
serve at Walrus? Not Walrus.
Me? I see I'm a walrus.
Big whiskers or something?
Oh, he's there.
I am here.
I
He's
am
struggling. I am. I am. Yes, you are, James. You are. Yeah, Walrus. He keeps saying something about lobster and mac. Lobster
mac and cheese?
Lobster mac and cheese.
That sounds just like super decadent and delicious.
Blubber and tusks. Sounds delicious, Liz.
Yum.
You know, I
Mm,
once
delicacies, I'm sure.
I once ate whale blubber, and I tell you guys, it's probably one to avoid.
That does,
I have
does
had
not
I have
sound
had
appetizing.
whale, but not the blubber. Whale itself.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Quite good.
Well, it was being served at a Norwegian mess. We were on detachment, and they served it deep fried in batter. So you didn't really know what was in the inside. It looked like, pork balls or things you get from a Chinese. So put a few on your plate and stick one in your mouth, and then realize you're just eating nothing but
Is it just like a big
fat
thing of fat?
Yeah, kind of
Was
chewy.
it tasty?
No.
It
wasn't
doesn't
worth
sound
it.
appetizing at
No.
all.
Yum.
Well, that and their habit of eating, what do they call those herrings that have gone off?
Do they have like rancid shark too, like they do?
No, we didn't get eat those. But
Are you talking about like the pickled herring? That's
Pickled
pretty
herring.
good. I like pickled herring.
No, not pickled. I like pickled herring. They're smorgasbords, lovely. Don't get me wrong. They're not all the fish, but that's where we kept singing the song. We'll meet again. Don't know where. Don't know when. But we know we'll meet
again. Lutefisk. Yes, that's it. That's the stuff you're probably talking about. That's not very good.
That's the smelly rancid stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Lutefisk.
Yeah. I think they call it fermented. I think that's a polite way of saying
fermented.
Golf.
It sounds similar to the shark that I was kind of describing, where it's just very ammonia-y, right?
Have you ever had Lindbergh cheese or Limburger cheese?
Is it a blue cheese?
It's a really I think it's a blue cheese. It's a very, very tasty cheese. I mean, it really does taste good, but it smells horrendous.
Yeah, smells your fridge out. My wife won't buy it for me anymore because
you open it up in one end of the house, and the other end of the house people are running.
She won't eat blue cheese, and when it's in the fridge, everything stinks of the blue cheese.
My dad used to eat that stuff and just drove my mom crazy. Yeah.
Well, the whiskeys from Isle of Islay specifically has a very peaty smell, and it smells and tastes very disgusting. As a matter of fact, when I was on the cruise ship and I had some, I mean, I actually like the taste of this, the whiskey from Isle of Islay in Scotland. But the bartender would hold the bottle as far away from him as he could when he was pouring it. And the people in the bar were like, what in the world does that smell? And that's that wonderful whiskey from Isle of Islay.
Smoky. I used to love that, the Western Isles whiskies, until I got really drunk on some. And, it's like now I couldn't.
You can't anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Ruined it for you.
Yeah. And I had to stick to the space sides, which have a much less strong odor, but that smoky nose on it used to drive my stomach mad.
Yeah, it's a nice note. That's actually, now I think of it, that's the reason why I don't like beer very much, because I was in college, I drank entirely too much in my fraternity.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
And Liz is right. The S is kind of silent. It's Islay.
Islay. Yeah, well.
Islay. I lay down.
I am testament to the fact that you can get over that aversion, Dana, eventually, if you live long enough, as I have. I had an aversion toward rum for an episode in a marching band school bus in college, where I was subsequently invited to leave the marching band the next day, and could not drink rum for probably a couple decades. But I can drink it now.
So maybe one day I'll be able to drink vodka again. I doubt it.
Maybe.
Everyone's got the one liquor that they can't do anymore.
Yeah. My overnight this past week was in Philadelphia. Went to Monk. I took the captain that I was with. He had never been to Monk's. I took him there, and I personally do like darker beers, like a Guinness or porter. So I
have some good Belgian triples and stuff in there.
Yeah, they do. So as long as it's not the hoppy and real beer tasting like like Budweiser, because I hate that taste. And you guys love your IPAs. I just don't like. I can't get over how hoppy it is. Right. But the darker beers, I actually do enjoy, and I enjoyed the one I had at Monk's on was it Tuesday night or Wednesday night? Yeah, Wednesday night. It was fantastic. So
excellent. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us on your weekend, and we do appreciate that. And as far as next week is concerned, we'll try to figure out when we're going to do it. Probably mid to late week, I would imagine. Not sure we'll see how it works out. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast so that you guys can get on with your lives and do something productive instead of hanging out with us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
See you guys in Columbus on Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for coming so long, and thanks for all
Okay,
the fish.
stop talking.